North South Connection. Welcome inside the Wrestling War Zone. I'm Under Wars podcast retrospective series. I'm JT. Joining me as ever is the co-host of the now rejuvenated. No, I don't want to screw anyone up with a big voice play, but that's just a callback to this year's PTB Christmas play. It's not anything reality. Don't get your hopes up out there. This podcast is a journey through the Monday Night Wars, and it is simulcast on audio on most podcast applications under North-South Connection, on video on our YouTube channel under North-South Connection, and on our absolutely free Patreon, Wrestling Warzone. You can check that out. One of the biggest perks of becoming a free patron is that you can watch as we record live, and we'll read some comments on air, or you can just get an early viewing of it. You also get some potential little content drips and drabs there, as well as some bonus stuff that we don't post anywhere else. I know, Chad, you get some year-end stuff that you had cooked up. I'm not sure if it'll be airing by the time this drops, but anything you want to share about the Patreon?
No, hopefully can have something. It's just making time to do it. I've done good. I'll tell you what, like this year, every year at the end of the year, I'm a pretty big like resolution guy, and have a lot of like checklists and stuff, and usually I over like I have like 8 or 9 things, and generally hit on like 4 or 5 of them, which is a pretty good clip. But I did good this year. I was just kind of like, all right, I'm on around the holidays. I'm not going to map out anything, take it easy. And so far, that's been pretty good for my overall mental sanity. So it's been a nice holiday season as we wrap up the year and head into 2026 by the time you all hear this.
Yeah, we'll be in 2026, and it's, I believe, our first Warzone of the new year. So thank you, everyone, for checking us out and joining the No-So. We're nearing in on, what are you getting, almost at 1,100 subs, I think, right?
Yep. Closing in.
So we're getting there. I want to thank everyone who's joined and loved along the way. We got Mania season before you know it. So that's always, of course, a lot of content coming here. Also, Chad, 2027 would be a 5th year of the greatest WWE wrestler ever projects that we've done here at Place to Be Nation / North-South Connection. We did the first one in 2017, revisited it in 2022. So all throughout 2026, there'll probably be some content starting to roll out for that to prepare for 2027. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well on the No-So, and we'll see if beyond that where it starts to click in. And also thanks to everyone who participated in No-So 95 throughout 2025 as well. So big shout out to all the contributors there. If you go to our podcast page or even on YouTube, this playlist toward No-So 95 that has the content that was geared all toward that. So be sure to check that out. When I shout out Reggie, he's the first one in the room here tonight watching us live. So thanks to Reg for joining us. And I did mention the Place to Be Nation podcast Christmas extravaganza that dropped on Christmas Eve over on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. If you're a fan of that inanity, go check it out. It was our 15th annual one, so it was a lot of fun.
15th?
14th or 15th?
Well, how many were plays?
I ran the stats recently. I forget the actual number, but we started the plays in 2014, and we did all but 1 year.
Imagine like how many, like of all the words of dialogue scripted out, we'll probably get the like a I don't know, Count of Monte Cristo.
It's ridiculous.
War and Peace.
It's not easy to write a stage play like that, like an audio, play, and then they're long. Like, so like, yeah, there's a lot between Aaron and I. We definitely penned a lot of,
well, yeah, you think like
screen scripts.
Yeah. I mean, like, like a production of Wicked is a little over 3 hours. And this one was, I'd say, fairly tidy, and it was still like 3:45. So
yeah, there's a lot of music and stuff that helps drag that out, but still, It's not far off for sure. No, it was a lot of fun to do. Yeah, we did 2012 and 2013. I think we're just kind of Christmas specials, and then 14 on, except for 1 year, have been audio plays. So there you go. So check it out. Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, the Place to Be podcast Christmas extravaganza. We got Everett in the house. Welcome aboard. And why don't we go and dive in, Chad? We're covering the August 18th, 1997 week of television. This is kind of a line in the sand week, because after this, things get a little hectic when you look at the schedule and kind of how things start to fall, right? So we come off of this, we get the Clash next, then we get the 2 weeks of Broken TV, where we go Nitro, Solo, Friday night main event in place of Raw for 2 weeks, and then we're right into Ground Zero, and then it's to go home for Fall Brawl. So it's like, and then One Night Only is like a couple weeks after.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
we're going all in now for a while. Like this is where a lot of hectic TV and build from here for the next probably 7 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to it with tonight's shows, but I do think there was more counter programming, especially on WCW's side. With this being kind of like their last head to head for a little bit, so we can discuss that as we go through.
All right. Start our Raw. We get our opening animation. Jim Ross welcomes us into a rocking Atlantic City Convention Center. So we're in New Jersey. It's kind of a cool spot. Like you think of it for like WrestleMania 4 and 5, I guess, or Trump Plaza, but they really haven't run much else in Atlantic City since. So it's kind of a cool location for like a summertime Raw out on the boardwalk NAC. So I thought it was actually somewhere I wish it'd be cool if they did more of. I know it's not as big of a kind of tourist location anymore, but I don't know. It's just kind of a cool spot to have a show.
Yeah, we talked about they did that kind of the tent tour. Leading up to this, and then always to me like the most distinctive part of this building is the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. They didn't have like the illuminated lights or whatever like on 4 and 5, but you can still see it's a very distinctive ceiling in this building. So it's always a cool venue, I think, to look at.
Yeah, I like that they were there. Signs are flying high. Vince McMahon's in the ring, and he brings out right away Ravishing Rick Rude, who's got the classic theme. Saunters down to a smattering of booze. So I don't know. You don't like that he had the old.
I would say it seemed a little out of place to me for 97 Raw. I don't know. We talked about it's dangerous with how generic and horrible Henning's theme is on Nitro to change it up, but I don't know. It's I didn't hate it, but it was just like it was one of those things that was a little jarring to hear it. It was like, oh, this really feels like a relic for like even of the classic themes. This one feels to me more like a relic.
7 years since he's really been around. So
yeah,
think about
like
it.
Piper or like Piper's, the bagpipes or Real American, something like that. To me, holds a little bit more nostalgia that carries it through. This one just felt a little awkward.
I think it was smart to use it for the first time. Like if they're going to take his character in a new direction, you kind of have him transition maybe over the next couple of weeks. If he even has theme music, we'll see. But I think for his first promo, like it made sense to kind of bring that back and tap into, hey, this is that guy. He gets a smattering of booze as he comes out. Cut the music. He does his classic shtick. I think he even runs back to SummerSlam '89, the Atlantic City Sweat Dogs. Or
the WrestleMania 5.
Yeah.
It's almost it's almost a beat for beat for what he said before.
Do you think he remembered, or do you think he went back and like watched it?
I think it was. I think it actually was a calculated callback.
Yeah. But do you think he actually had it memorized, or do you think he had to go run
back? I'm guessing he had to probably.
You don't think he remembered all those years?
Pritchard or somebody probably had it.
Probably pulled it for him. Yeah.
Stand by. Yeah.
It was good. It was good to hear it again. Vince asked him about last week and says the more things change, the more they stay the same. We saw him in a different role last week than usual, acting as an insurance policy. Rude says he's an insurance salesman. Short-term, long-term, life, disability, accidental. If you supply the buck, I'll supply the bang. Vince says Rude has supplied the bang on Mankind last week and asked who the benefactor was. Rude says Vince doesn't need to know, just needs to know that he was paid a handsome sum to get the job done. He'll supply muscle for money, and even Vince could use some extra insurance. And like a good neighbor, Rude is always there. Vince says Rude could be here for someone else that may need his services. And Rude says, if you're wise, you'll get a piece of the Rude. To be in good hands, get Rude. Vince says the protection racket is one of the oldest in the world. Rude tells him to get it through his thick skull. To get a premium, you pay a premium. And if you pay in full, someone's in for a rude awakening. So this is like real straightforward. It's as many insurance company puns as they can get in. It's just hammering home that Rude is a hired gun. So again, is it a misdirection that he is with Michaels and they're just trying to throw you off the scent? Or is he truly, just going to be a hired hitman that is going to be lingering around the company that whoever wants to pay up, he'll go take care of business for you. So I like the concept because I do think he's believable. It's like a lethal guy that can kick the shit out of someone. Like he's got a tough man rep. So like that plays well. And I get why they wanted to play it coy. So we'll see how it plays out. Does he, is he aligned with Shawn, or is there something more to it?
Do you think there was any? Because to me, this felt pretty closely aligned to like Hennig. Like not confirming he's with the Horsemen. There's a little bit of that here. Do you think like this whole insurance stick? Am I thinking
maybe
too much into it? Was it like a Lloyd's of London?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It could be like Rude and Hennig are boys, so like that could go either way. Either he wouldn't do it because they're boys, or he would because he's ribbing them. I think it's just more that Rude can't wrestle. So like they have to take, and he's not like a manager, so like they have to kind of take some approach with him. And I think this is like a good middle lane because Rude as a manager is like we've seen it with DiBiase, like it doesn't work. Like he's just like too big of a character like to work that way. So I think this is a nice middle lane because he can't wrestle. He's not going to be like Jimmy Hart. So like having him just take payola and kick the shit out of people, I think makes sense.
Yeah, as a promo, like it was a little too like insurance forward for me. I think in spots, but I do think it's more successful than some of the Hennig stuff we've seen. One because like Rude, I think is conveying straight out more that he's kind of like a mercenary, like paid for hire. And two, you don't have somebody like the status of Shawn or what Flair's doing, like somebody of a high esteem basically begging for him to join. Like it gets resolved pretty quickly as we see tonight. I mean, still a little bit of ambiguity leaving this show, but it's they're hitting the fast forward button quicker than what Hennig on WCW is doing. That's been drawn out over like 4 or 5 weeks now. So I think that's a plus. It almost feels like they watched how that's played out and they've kind of learned from some of the mistakes.
Right, like let's go right in
on over there. Yeah.
Well, and it feels in a lot of ways too, like we're in a little holding pattern to get to ground zero. And this happens every year around this time with these August like shit show Raws because of the US Open. So it feels a little bit like, all right, let's just like survive in advance these next couple weeks. And then I think we see right after ground zero, like a lot of stuff kind of crystallizes is the direction for the fall. And I think they know where they're going with Rude already. Like I think that's defined. But that it's not, they got like 2 more steps to take with those other people, right? Before they can kind of solidify what he's going to do.
Right.
All right. Ross and Jerry Lawler reset the show, run down the night ahead. We're going to have a sit-down interview with Ross and Steve Austin. We have a big main event as Shawn Michaels and Hunter Hearst Helmsley team up to take on Undertaker and Mankind. The first time Shawn Michaels and Undertaker will ever face off. So, and I like that they lean into that because it's un-WWF like at times to where they don't really acknowledge the history as much, but they're going in. This is the first. They've never crossed paths. They've always avoided each other. So I like that. That's a big selling point for these two that they've never wrestled. These are 2 legends that have been here. Shawn's been here almost 10 years. Taker's been here 8 or 7, I should say, even though they always round up and say 10. He's been here 7 years, and it's like they've never crossed paths at all. Like I don't think even in a Rumble have they like even touched hands. I don't think Shawn, he's not at the 94 Rumble where they bury on it. So like they never really crossed paths at all.
Yeah, I thought it was a good job to hype between both that and just the novelty of Undertaker and Mankind teaming up. It was a good hook for a main event for sure.
Helmsley also was like immediately boosted in this. Like just him being with these 3 guys is like, okay, like we're elevating Hunter. Like it's obvious now.
Yeah, they really kind of thrust him in with this whatever alliance that you're not sure of with Shawn. I think that's the weakest piece so far in kind of explaining like where he fits. I don't know. It's something I don't really recall whether we get more exposition or not in later weeks when they kind of crystallize together as a unit. But it did seem a little bit like, like he's just sort of ham-fisted in there as like Shawn's kind of partner here. So we'll see. I mean, you kind of can go with like, all right, he's feuding with Mankind, so that's a little bit.
I think it's the approach they're taking. He came out last week because Mankind was in that. That's why it was true to them to use Mankind to bring those 2 together because he's a nice linchpin for Hunter to get involved in this. so it doesn't feel forced. And then those in the know, which I think at this point for WWF is a decent chunk, because the click is like known. Like they've kind of talked about it. The curtain call was a big thing. Like it's been over a year. I think even in Raw magazine they might have referenced it. Like so, like for over a year now, it's been known that these guys are kind of buddies anyway. So like it's not like a huge leap for some fans, you know.
Right. Yeah. It just I guess compared to everyone else, like we've even seen like Mankind, even he's been elevated as we tracked in '97, but even in '96 he was in main event spots, and we really haven't seen Hunter in that type of position anymore. Now he's in the
Well,
top
the
of the
most was
card.
did he fight Brett on a
Yeah.
Raw, and he fought Shawn too on a Raw, right? I think like maybe around WrestleMania 12
Yeah.
time or so. All right. Owen and Bulldog are backstage. They give a quick warning to Legion of Doom for tonight, as well as Ground Zero. We get an ad for the Stridex limited edition trading cards. We then get Vince narrating some clips of a vintage and modern day Atlantic City. We then see Michaels and Commissioner Slaughter. They're off in the distance backstage having a very heated discussion. To the ring we go. Our opening match is Legion of Doom taking on the British Bulldog and Owen Hart. Bulldog and Owen are out. Ross plugs the fatal four-way, says Louisville is sold out. LOD's down to a pop. Animal starts things off with Owen. Animal tosses him around, grabs the arm, tags Hawk, who sticks a neck breaker, drops a fist, followed by a running clothesline. Hawk tries another one. Owen dodges. Hawk bangs off to the floor. Bulldog slides over, shoots Hawk into the steps. Back in the ring, Owen hammers away, works the back, tags Bulldog, gets a delayed vertical for two. Bulldog works a chin lock. We get some quick tag and mixed offense from the Hearts. Hawk tries to punch out of trouble. Bulldog and Owen keep him in the corner. Hawk and Bulldog wipe out with a double clothesline. Ross plugs the big show this weekend in Chicago. Animal gets a tag, cleans house. Owen catches him with a spinning heel kick. Goes up top. Animal catches him with a power slam. Bulldog makes a save as the Godwins come in. They get in the ring. Hank nails Animal with the slop bucket, and Owen covers for the win. Vince says that bucket shot would have knocked out a horse. All three teams brawl until they get pulled apart by officials. Not much here. Kind of a Cliff Notes version of their match that we've seen in the past. Okay, offense, traditional structure. It's really just to kind of give a sell for the big tag at Ground Zero. And this is an interesting Raw because we have 2 more weeks, but this is kind of like a de facto go home for Ground Zero for like most viewers, because the next 2 weeks are going to be, 11 o'clock on a Friday night. So like they kind of have to go a little bit hard on the Ground Zero prep in the show. They had to have the card laid out and kind of go in on it now. So I went 2 stars, and 2 things about cities. It's interesting to hype the Chicago show because I think we're getting that on Nitro as well, right? We've been getting a lot of hype for Chicago. And also, is 97 like, I mean, this is probably standard for a lot of years, but 97 feels like they really debut a lot of unique pay-per-view locations, which is kind of cool. Like, I don't know, like Louisville, I guess In Your House 6 was there, right? So maybe, but I don't know if it was in the same building, was it?
It should have been, at the Louisville.
No, maybe it was. All right. I was just thinking it's kind of they went to some cool places, I guess I'm trying to say. Like they're finding some cool little wrestling hotbeds to run while they're heating back up.
Yeah, I think with your monthly, now that everything's monthly, you should see that.
Like they go to Providence, they go to Jersey, Calgary, Louisville. It's like either Chicago. It's like either their old homesteads or wrestling hotbeds. Like they're trying to pinpoint,
Yeah. Calgary, I thought was really nice, and we'll get to it on Nitro too. But I think there was, as we mentioned, just a general WCW. I think there's been missed opportunities on where they bring pay-per-views and whatnot. For this match itself, I went 2.25. I actually was looking forward to it a good bit. I'm just gonna stop doing that on, I think, Owen TV matches. I don't know why. It really wasn't even his fault. I think on this one, it was like Bulldog locking in the headlock for a 4-minute match. I was like, come on, dude. The action overall I thought was okay, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. There wasn't a lot to it, and then you get the finish, which I liked. I mean, I thought the Godwins getting involved was fine, so that was good. As you mentioned, a lot of hype for the Fatal 4-Way. One thing on the hype for that I still a little, I guess, nitpicky, annoyed about is I don't like that they're still advertising Austin for this tag match.
Do you think they knew though for sure?
I think they did, because in the Observer it talked about him. I mean, he says it in his interview, but he'd already gotten like one opinion. He was getting the second opinion. I think like best case scenario, it said the Observer said they thought like a couple months, which is pretty close. It's like 2.5 months from here to Survivor Series when he does come back. I think it'd been very aggressive for them to think he'd have been back by.
I wonder if they were thinking though, because it's a 4-team tag. I wonder if they were thinking like we can hide him on the apron, let him hit a couple spots, and then get out. Maybe that was their thought.
Even if even like best case scenario, they think he can go. Him and Mankind in this match is just a problem anyway,
right.
because like the build is not revolved around them at all. They feel too big, to be honest.
Well, that's why it almost feels like they were hiding him down the card in case they had to either pull him, or that's why I think they set this match up. I think they want to get the belts off them. B, I think they figure, okay, we'll bury him third from the top. So if he does wrestle and he doesn't do anything, it's not a big deal. If we have to pull him, it's not a big deal. They're not really selling the show on him. You're really selling it on Shawn and Undertaker, and that's all that matters for them right now. That's a big enough draw. So it's not like anyone's tuning in for this fucking 4-way tag. And Austin, they do have he is there. He does. I think he's at the show. He does get involved. So it's not like it's like too far off. It's not like he's out completely. I believe he gets involved in the match or in the pre-show or the pre-match, whatever. He's out there.
Okay. Sure. I don't. It to me, it just felt a little cheap to see like him advertised. I think they probably should have known by this point he was not wrestling, even if he was standing on the apron.
Right.
So, but yeah, otherwise it was okay.
Bruni wants to know if we're more familiar with Click than Bone Street Crew. I 100% was. I didn't know Bone Street Crew was the thing till like way later, so that wasn't even the Click we knew. Like just if you were on AOL or anything in '96, you knew about the Click because you knew of the curtain call. It was like
I wasn't online in '97, and I still knew like about the Click just based off of like Raw magazine and stuff like that. Like
and Nash and Hall would give
or had enough to where you could put the pieces together. Yeah.
Owen's an interesting case, and we've been talking about it on War because we're doing 96, 95, 96 there, and it's like, man, we mentioned GWE earlier for 2026 and 27 as we work through it. Like he's got an interesting case. Like I think I dropped him last time, and he's probably going to drop even more after we've kind of gone through more of this stuff because that TV, which you just assumed he was like carrying TV during this time, outside of 94, there's not a lot of meat on the bone for him.
Yeah, I think he's someone that as we talked about kind of historically over the show, and even like with greatest wrestler ever, like I was sure he'll still get votes in 2026 for that, and that's something I really don't see. And it's just similar, like he's unfortunately with him, it's his untimely death, but it's kind of like an Arn Anderson situation too.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Arn Anderson, it's like you only have like 11 years till he's retired. Like there's just not, and you're getting to this weird situation. Like I was thinking today, I was like, Seth Rollins has been around for 20 years. Like I watched him at IWA Mid-South in 2005. So we have 20 years of resume from him.
With a lot of matches.
Yes. Like Roderick Strong, somebody from like 2004. You can watch like all these matches, and he's been pretty consistently great, in my opinion, for all that. So like on the surface, you think like, oh, like Roderick Strong over like Owen Hart and Arn Anderson. But then when you start thinking about it, it's like, oh, I mean, all right, like he has been around and done a bunch of
Owen,
stuff.
I hate to say it, it's like it feels like he coasted off of Rumble 94, WrestleMania 10, and Kingdom, like just that 94 run plus the kid match on Raw. Like it feels like that January to August is like he like banked to that and then just kind of rode off of that. Like he still has great moments on Raw, like he's funny stuff, and like Kingdom in '96, his commentary is good, but like when you start looking for those big matches, like they are just not there. Like that SummerSlam was his best chance, and it's marred by that shitty ending. But like we were loving that match, so it's like that's probably his best match, right?
And that felt like him reaching a level that he hadn't reached. Yeah. Like that felt like that to me is kind of the frustrating because it feels
Well, and it
like
could have been. You look at it, you
he
think like,
has that.
okay, this is him going to the next level. Now he's gonna make that leap, and then it just all goes to shit. Like,
I think you've seen that, like with the Bulldog match in March, and this, and the SummerSlam match. Like you see those glimpses.
mhm.
He's just somebody that, I mean, for better or for worse, like if it's a 4-minute TV match, like
Yeah.
the effort's just not gonna be there. Like it's an easy comparison on this show only, with a guy again, just comparison wrestling resumes. It's an easy comparison to watch, like Owen and Bulldog's performance in this 4-minute match, and then watch how hard Chris Benoit's wrestling on that match when we get to Nitro. About the same length, and
Yeah.
it's night and day.
All right, we get a quick teaser of the interview with Austin. Austin throws some fruit at him and says, hurry up. We go backstage. Mankind talks about the main event, his internal conflict seeming with The Undertaker, debating will he be a loyal partner or the nail in the coffin of The Undertaker. We get an ad for Ground Zero. We get more vintage Atlantic City clips focusing on the Miss America pageant. Shawn Michaels is backstage. Vince asks why is he still upset? Michael says he keeps getting the shaft. What happened at SummerSlam was a job he had to do, and everything he's done to this point is a mistake. But then you paint him in a corner, and the mistakes will stop. He wasn't supposed to face Undertaker until Ground Zero, but here he is with him, Mankind, and Helmsley, who's not even a tag partner because he has no friends or partners. He calls Vince Caesar and says he's being a good little Catholic boy thrown to the lions yet again. And the whole WWF will pay and get what's coming for painting him into the corner. His promo is probably better than how he read it off there, but it's still kind of just where his character's been. He feels like he's been the good soldier. He got, he ate the blame at SummerSlam, and now it's spiraled on him since then, and he's basically done taking shit.
Yeah, I thought for like a 1 to 2 minute backstage promo with pretty low stakes, it was well presented. So
it feels like he's really like, we talk about guys who suddenly go like that and 180 and like have, because the first half of 97 we have not been into very well. Like it's not been good, and we know the back half of 97 is like elite. So it's an interesting 6-6.
Yeah, he has one of the more interesting, I'd say, like years in memory of just annoyance and not authenticity to. I mean, really, it was just him being a dick like he is in real life on screen. That was, I think, the biggest thing that happens. Like, I think the wrestling ability was still there, but he does change how he wrestles, obviously, as a heel, which is good. That's a
and they tried to do this attitude change in early 97. Like, you could tell they tried to do it after he lost at MSG to Sid. Like, they kind of reran the Diesel play where he was like getting a little bit of an edge, but then that kind of faded quick. And now they just went all in on it. So,
right.
All right, to the ring we go for some light heavyweight action as Brian Christopher takes on Flash Funk. Sunny is out. She does ring introductions. Flash's music starts. Sunny starts the intro, but out comes Christopher, so they fix the music. She did a good job improving to like cover for it, but another classic screw up. We get a quick inset promo from Christopher. Says he wants heavyweight to prove how good he is. Out comes Funk, kind of quite a heavyweight, but he's a bit more subdued than usual. He just has the hat. He's walking slower, so he's not doing the dance. There's no Funk hats or any of that stuff. We get an inset from Funk, and then Ross goes right away on King for being Christopher's dad. King is rambling to deny it. Christopher slams Flash off the bell. Vince talks about the match at Ground Zero between Christopher and Scott Putski. Ross talks about Roy Jones Jr. moving up a weight class. Flash comes back with a quick flurry, drives Christopher to the floor, meets him with a baseball slide, gets back in the ring, catches Funk in a reverse Russian leg sweep. But King says he's been trying to teach Christopher how to do a pile driver. Christopher drills Funk in the back of the head with a drop kick off the middle rope, gets an overhead throw, heads up top. King gets up and says he's going to go tell Christopher to do a pile driver. Flash crotches Christopher. Ross says King may not be a grandfather after that. Flash goes up and hits a 450 and gets the win. He leaves as King and Christopher argue. I thought this is really fucking stupid, honestly. Unless they're going to turn Christopher face or have him be sick of King, why are we beating Christopher before Ground Zero? Why is he stooging with King for no reason after they've like had this kind of like strong alliance for a while now? Flash isn't going anywhere. Like, is he leveling up? And he's not even presented as a light heavyweight. So it's like, this made no sense at all. Like, this made both of them look stupid. Like, I would have had him get crotched, and then maybe he recovers and Lawler helps him and he hits a Padre win. Like, if you want to stooge him, that's fine, but then give them the real finish. So I want to start in half because the match was fine until that, but I thought the finish was really stupid. It made no sense.
Yeah, agreed on the finish. This was a pretty perplexing decision to me. I want to start in 3/4 for the match, like you said, was fine, but this light heavyweight division and the booking around it's been a debacle since they started up, and this especially seemed like an easy, like, put it on a platter, like, spot for
Flash
Christopher
is
to
easy
get
to
a little
beat.
momentum. Yeah, like Flash shouldn't be protected with how he's been presented, and this makes King look dumb, makes Christopher look dumb. It doesn't have much rhyme or reason. So it was very bizarre, actually, overall.
It's almost like they knew they weren't doing like the tournament part of it yet, and they're just trying to like fill some weeks to show off some of these guys without real storylines. But you kind of do have a storyline with Putski and Christopher. You did the whole thing with Ivan. Like, there is something there. It's just odd. This would have been better if they just had them kick the shit out of Funk, and then the Putskis come out and have Ivan be in Scott's corner at Ground Zero. Like, that to me would have made more sense. So. All right, Sonny consoles King. Ross plugs those upcoming shows. You mentioned the tent tour, Warwick, Cohasset, Hyannis, and then Houston, Chicago, Albuquerque, and then the big Raw at Madison Square Garden, which I believe is the first time ever on September 22nd. So that obviously had run New York quite a bit, but not MSG. Undertaker pops in from backstage, gives a warning to Michaels. We get the paid advertisement for Raw for Discovery Zone. They got special posters you can get right now. And then we go to the ring as Ken Shamrock takes on the Sultan. Sultan stalks out with Iron Sheik. I don't know how both these guys are still fucking around. Like imagine like they're still booking and flying Sheiky around the country at this point. Like, crazy to me. He's just like hanging around backstage in 1997. We go back. We see Hunter's arguing with Slaughter. Ross says him and Michaels do not seem pleased to be forced to team tonight in this match. So they're again edging us more toward reluctant partners for them. Shamrock stalks down to a pop. We get some grappling and strikes. Ken tries to hook a leg. Sultan stands tall, catches Ken on a crossbody, slams him. Ken is up, clothesline Sultan to the floor. Sheik rallies, but Shamrock follows and hammers away. Sultan reverses a whip, shoots Ken into the steps, and then Sheik pelts him with the flagpole, shoves him back in the ring. Sultan gets two on a backbreaker. Ken recovers, comes firing back, slams Sultan, drills a clothesline, snaps off a belly to belly. Sheiky gets up in the apron, but Ken drags him in the ring, takes him out with a belly to belly. He takes down Sultan with a Rana and finishes Sultan off with the ankle lock. This started slow, but I actually thought they cooked a little bit down the stretch with Shamrock just cleaning house on both guys. I mean, Sheik taking belly-to-belly bumps at 97 or something. We'll be interested to see. It feels like Shamrock's another guy that's in a holding pattern. Doesn't really have a feud with the hard stuff kind of done. Like, he hasn't really edged into that next thing just yet. So we'll see where he's headed. I wouldn't start in 3/4. I like the back end of this with Shamrock just destroying both guys.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about this. I only want to start in 1/4. I think it's mostly just the holding pattern stuff too with Shamrock. It feels like it's time for him to get his next feud a little bit. And I mean, yeah, he's tossing around Sultan and Sheik, but I don't feel like that's too impressive at this stage. So
I don't know if he's even at Ground Zero. I'd have to. I don't think
they really. I mean, like, he's been inserted in some things, but his 97 booking I think is pretty interesting because he's around, but I don't feel like he's had that. Like, I mean, the Bulldog thing was a little bit for that lead up to SummerSlam, and then I know he has some other stuff down the road, but really feels like until he kind of gets linked up with Rocky, he's a little bit kind of lost there. So we'll see if it plays out. It certainly feels that way now.
Yeah, which I think is coming soon. The Nation for him, like, I think it's right around the corner. I think by Survivor Series for sure. We'll see before that. All right, Ross, King, and Vince reset. They get ready to toss this to Ross's interview with Austin, but the Nation of Domination music fires up, and out comes the entire crew, including Rocky Maivia, as they march to the ring. Farouk tells Ross to get in the ring for an interview. It says that people want to know what happened with Ahmed Johnson, and is what he knew all along. Under that thick black skin, Ahmed's just a white boy trying to get out. He wanted to be pretty like Shawn Michaels or just be like Steve Austin. And Ahmed wouldn't be white if they sandblasted him 20 times. He better learn to stand on his own 2 feet, because anything in the world worth getting or fighting for, and anyone that is weak like Ahmed doesn't belong in the nation. He took Savio Vega and Crush out of the trash can, and he's the reason they were successful. They want to challenge him to a street fight. Well, he was raised in the streets. And at Ground Zero, he'll play Genie and grant them each their last wish, and this will be the final chapter, as Farouk will kick their asses in Louisville. Farouk tells Ahmed to look at Rocky, a young man that came to the WWF trying to do things the American way, kissing babies, helping old women across the street, but he was frowned upon, found out it's not the way to do it, and instead he has to fight for it like the nation does. Rocky takes the mic and says, I have 3 words: die, Rocky, die. That's the gratitude I got from the pieces of crap for my blood, sweat, and tears. And this isn't about skin color. It's about respect. He's the youngest Intercontinental Champion in history, and I got him chance of Rocky sucks. He's a lot of things, but sucks ain't one of them. He's not black or white thing. It's a real prejudice faction is DOA. The DOA epitomizes racism, and he wants to make 1 point to the jackass fans. As Rocky and the new nation live, breathe, and die respect, they will earn it by any means necessary. We hear bikes revving up. The DOA show up on the screen. Crush says they're the nation of constipation. And forget racism claims. We're just here to kick ass. Crush issues a challenge to meet them in the parking lot and fight like men with no Commissioner Slaughter for the save. The nation had out to meet them as the bikes are revving. And that was that. So fine segment. I mean, Farouk, does his usual spewing. Ahmed just gets like completely punked verbally. They're done. You can tell they're done with him. They just have like no interest in him really, which is crazy. Just a year ago right now is when he, got kicked in the kidney and started this whole friggin' downfall, but they have no interest in rehabbing him. I thought Rocky was good. I mean, easily his best promo of his career. He had conviction. You could tell this has really been bothering him, like this kind of stuff. I do like immediately that he distanced himself from the race aspect of the nation. Like, he's like, I'm only here for respect. You treat me like shit, and these guys have my back. Like, he slips in a little bit of the racism because they probably told him, like, you got to do something. But you could tell right away he knows, like, I'm not turning this into, like, it's with the black guys or the white guys. Like, he's trying to use this more for, resetting his career and where he wants to go. I like the Die Rocky Die stuff. It was kind of harkening back. And I don't know if he consulted with Foley before this. Like, it reminded me a lot of Kane Dewey, right? Like, that was kind of Foley's whole twist when he was in ECW as to why he turns. So I don't know if they had a conversation or not, but it felt very similar to that aspect where they pull a sign or a chant out of the crowd and use that as their impetus for the change. So I thought Rocky really nailed his part. Farouk is Farouk, and Ahmed just looks like a bitch.
Yeah, they really, like you said, they punked out Ahmed pretty good here. But for a heel promo, for a young guy that had never been heel before, I thought this was really well done by Rock. Had good timing, was able to kind of turn around something that legitimately did happen. So, you get that like extra bit of realism and the motivation behind the turn. It makes sense to me that, like this is a case where you could say like, well, the feds turned their back on me, so now I'm turning my back on them. And overall, like the stuff with the gang war situation here between what we see with DOA interrupting and what we get after the break, this is the type of gang war stuff I could tolerate because it's pretty quick. It's short, heated little segments and brawls, and then that's it for the show. So overall, I thought this was a success, and I'm definitely liking the new makeup of the nation currently.
Oh, it's way better. And Rocky's an upgrade over Ahmed just from a potential, right? I think Ahmed, you were hoping maybe they could salvage him with that turn. Like, he looked cool, but you knew, like, he's not his last. I mean, he's just cooked. Those injuries just completely ruined him. Rocky, at least to me, has some potential. There was potential in him as a face. It was just a weak character. Right. So this was a good approach to save him. And right away, it's paying dividends. Like, you can see this guy's got something in him right out of the gate. Like, this could have easily bombed. They could have protected him, too. They could have had him not talk. They could have had Farouk just talk for him, but they let him go. So it was good. We see footage of Dustin, Terry, and Dakota Runnels running and playing in the beach. We get some more classic Atlantic City footage. Hunter and China are backstage. Hunter asks why he has to yet again pay the time for Shawn's crimes, which is, again, a nice nod because, you can kind of think, oh, okay, from last week, but it's a nice nod to those that know, right? Hunter ate the shit for the curtain call. And he's like, yet again, here I am eating the shit for Shawn. If they want a war with Michaels, they can deal with him. But if they want a war with Hunter, they got it now. Vince cuts him off to take us to the garage. And again, I like that comment by Hunter. Anything there?
No, I again, it's pretty good promo to insert in and builds up the tag match tonight. So it was well done.
DOA is standing tall, waiting, and the Nation arrive. We get a big brawl in the garage as they fight. Los Boricuas sneak in and steal the bikes and drive off. So more gang wars escalation there from the Boricuas stealing the bikes.
Yeah, supposedly Cornette's car, I don't know if it was a rental or actual car, gets screwed up by, I think it was Kama in this brawl, a little tidbit there. I don't know. I'm sure he ran and raved on some drive-through, his drive-through podcast or whatever, but I read that today when I was gearing up.
Do you think it was a rib? You think they did it on purpose?
The way it was, I tried to find it. I couldn't even really see it like in the brawl itself. So I don't know. As a brawl, backstage brawl with that kind of camera that's kind of peeled back and you see the action going through, I thought this was pretty lively. So it was fine.
Big gang wars guy, just like Kevin Kelly, you and KK.
This is good though. It's kind of stupid because honestly, DOA, it feels like their bikes get stolen like every week. Like, I don't know why they can't lock these things up. It's just this is good because it's short. Like I don't think it's actually very high quality. Like the Boricuas, we still have no character really behind them except they steal things. So that's not the best. But
right.
Yeah.
All right, we back to the ring as Brian Pillman is taking on Jesse James, another relic, still hanging on. He's only been here less than a year, and it feels like he's been around for 30 years. Like fucking jumpsuit.
Similar to like what you were talking about with Shawn, it's crazy to think like, all right, go 6 months forward from this Raw with him and see how like improved he is. Where
3 months,
no way out.
It happens.
Well,
fast.
but 6 months, he's like main eventing No Way Out in Texas or whatever.
And he feels like
key cog of everything.
Feels terrible right now. I mean,
he felt like he was gonna get released or fired, and imminently with the way he was presented here.
I think they were. I think him and Billy were both kind of on the chopping block, and that was kind of a last ditch.
Right.
I mean, that jumpsuit's like, I don't think he's changed that since he showed up. We're the same thing.
Yeah, it's still coming out to me and my baby tonight.
It's awful.
It's awful.
All right, Pillman's out. He's got a new dress, angry. Vince shows us clips of his past 2 weeks as he continues to scuffle. He's stuck in the gowns. We get some chain work off of Bell. Pillman elbow, hard punches. James steps aside. Pillman lifts up his dress. Or James steps up, lifts up Pillman's dress, to say. Pillman slugs him, grinds his face into the mat. Vince likes that people are being made to do what they said they would do. With Sarge here, and Ross still is on the train that thinks this is way too much for Pillman. You're prodding him too much. Once was fine. Move on. James comes hammering back. Hits a lariat in the corner. Heads up top, but whiffs on a flying shoulder block. Goldust and Marlena come down, and Pillman hits a DDT on James. Goldust gets in the ring and drops an elbow on James to draw the DQ. And, of course, that means a loss for Pillman, and he's stuck in the dress yet another week. So that was a creative finish. It was better than last week. Quick match, keep the in-ring short. We ate up so much time with this fucking nonsense last week. And the post-match is the key aspect. So we'll get to that in a second. So I went a half star on the match. I like the way they did the finish. I like we didn't meander. We got away from the stupid hidden camera tricks from last week that were terrible. And this post-match is the big push. So we'll get there in a second.
Yeah, agree with all that. When I have start to very creative finish. So good job there.
All right. Michael Cole's out on the ramp, and Goldust says he wanted to see Pillman in that dress one more week because he looks so pretty. Pillman gets on the mic and asks Goldust, is this a big joke? It's a world-class athlete like him coming out in a dress in front of all these sick freaks. And Goldust says, yes, it is. Pillman says he thinks Goldust would love to get rid of him for good. And Goldust says, yeah, you should leave. Pillman says, how about we have one more match? If Goldust wins, Pillman will leave forever. But if Pillman wins, he gets 30 days with Marlena as his personal assistant. Right away, Goldust says, nope, no chance. Calls Pillman stupid for even suggesting it. Pillman says, Goldust lost his guts and his manhood. You were talking tough a minute ago. Pillman says he knows Marlena as Terry, and he keeps pushing and pushing. Goldust says, no way in hell will I ever accept this. And Pillman says, well, there's always a part of me around you anyway, because Dakota is my love child. And it was so good. Goldust sprints to the ring, chases Pillman off. Marlena gets the mic and accepts the challenge. And Goldust walks back to Marlena and is basically berating her. Like, what is wrong with you? Why would you accept this? Pillman's not worth the risk. Pillman just smirks as we go to break. So this is a good payoff. Again, antithesis of the shit we talked about on Nitro that's dragged on for weeks. That we had a couple 1 week too much for this, but I like that we get right into the twist right away. Pillman gets back onto the upper hand, and I thought he was great here. Give him the power in the feud now after Goldust has had it since SummerSlam, whatever, into SummerSlam. And I like too that Ross has been prescient in predicting this was coming. He's like, you keep fucking with Pillman, he is going to snap and do something insane. And maybe you think that means he's going to like maul Goldust, but no. Here he is like berating Goldust and pushes far enough to now get a chance to have Marlena for 30 days. So I like this. I thought Pillman was fantastic in it. I think it makes Goldust kind of look like a bit of a goof, like not in a bad way, just in a storyline way. Like he went too hard and now bit him in the ass. He should have got his Charlies for a couple of weeks and then left it alone. But he had to keep going back and going back, and then Pillman finally snapped.
Yeah. Only thing I would push back a little bit on this would be the attack itself, that Dakota is like Pillman's love child or whatever. Because I couldn't quite get like how they're playing that, because like Marlena's the one that actually accepts on Goldust's behalf first. So was it I couldn't really decide, like, were they playing it like this is legitimate, or this is just like Pillman really stirring the pot, or I don't know.
I think it's a little bit of both, because they've been hinting that they have history together in WCW. It's kind of how they've been playing it a little bit.
Yeah, because to me, from that standpoint, then I think there should have, if it's being played as like a legitimate thing, I guess there's not a great solution to me, because to me, if it's played as a legitimate thing, it's something they probably should have teased a little more. And I don't know like why Pillman held this like throughout this whole feud to like this moment, like,
which is why it's probably just meant to tweak Goldust. It's probably the way they're doing it.
So I do lean, I think, a little more to the latter, but from that standpoint, I do think like as an attack, it kind of, I think it's more just like Pillman saying he's the father. Like, I think it'd have been better if Pillman would have just basically called Marlena like a whore or whatever. Than,
but don't forget too, like
Dakota out of wedlock.
We know what the end game is, right? That they were. We don't get there, right? Because what happens, but the end game was meant to be that they were in on it, right? So, unless I don't know if that comes later, I thought the plan was that they were already in cahoots even before she ends up with him.
Marlena and Pillman were like,
so I think that's why they had Pillman say that, because you needed something so bad that to justify Marlena getting mad enough in theory to accept this challenge that could really ruin her, right? So like, so in theory, saying, your daughter's mine, like that's, enough for her to be like, okay, I'll take the challenge, even though she knows like what the real deal is, assuming they were already supposed to be in cahoots.
Yeah. That was the only thing to me that was a little bit of a logic gap, but overall, this was, to me, much more successful than the hidden camera stuff, which made Goldust last week. So it's an improvement from last week, and it does advance to now they have this match, at ground.
Yeah, and it gives Pillman the upper hand. Like, he's been kind of the bitch now for 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks, whatever it's been. So now they're giving Pillman some, something to have. So, all right, Vader's backstage issues a quick warning to Patriot. They're going to fight tonight. We go to hour 2 animation, back to the ring, and it is time for Patriot versus Vader. Vader ambles out with Uncle Paul, as Vince claims we have not seen much evidence yet that Kane is alive, despite Paul's claims. Patriot's out to a pop. Ross hypes the role he's been on since he defeated the Hitman. Brett comes halfway down the ramp with the Canadian flag to booze, distracts Patriot long enough for Vader to attack him from behind and pummel on him. Vader hits a short arm clothesline, but Patriot comes back with a leaping lariat, some hard punches in the corner. Patriot ducks a boot, slides outside, and pulls Vader crotch into the ring post. Brett's still watching as Patriot heads up and hits a fighting shoulder block for 2, tosses some right hands. Patriot gets 2 on a cross body block, tries a sunset flip. Vader counters, sits down hard on his chest. Vader drops an elbow, lands another hard clothesline and a splash for 2. Patriot sticks a couple of headbutts, but Vader kicks him in the chest, follows with a body block and drops an elbow. Slams Patriot, goes up for the Vader bomb. Patriot gets the knees up, sticks a DDT for 2. Patriot charges, but runs into another body block for Vader into a near fall. Brett is standing stoically as Patriot comes in with a flurry, hits the Uncle Slam, which I believe was officially named Uncle Slam here, which is one of the best names ever, and hits the hard-fought win. So clean win on Vader for Patriot as they continue to really ramp him for the title match. After the bell, Patriot goes up to Brett, but Vader nails him from behind, lays him out with strikes. Vader slams Patriot, loads up a Vader bomb. Brett's in the ring. It puts a Canadian flag on Patriot, but Vader stops, asks Brett what he's doing. They argue. Vader takes the flag and snaps it across his knee. That gets a pop. Brett and Vader start to brawl. In come Bulldog and Owen. Patriot makes a save and clears them out, and that's that. So I just a fine power match. They get some time to tell a story. Vader got a lot of shine. Patriot, his whole thing is that he's got the will to survive and win. The post-match was good, too. More heat for Ground Zero and a potential face turn for Vader, which could be a good, nice injection of energy. I think he's maxed out over the last 18 months as a heel. I think turning him face, we're a little bit lacking on the face side anyway. We see that with Shawn turning now. Like we have in Austin Hurt, like besides Taker and Patriot, there's really no one else. So there's a nice little slot for Vader to maybe ramp up and potentially be a title contender for Brett. So we'll see. So 2.25 for me. I like the turn, and I like that it's not like a hard face turn. It's kind of like, is he, or is he just mad about the flag, right? We'll see. But at least it's something, and they realize that there's going to be something there for Vader.
Yeah, I went 2.75. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I thought this was probably actually my favorite thing that Patriot's been involved in, including the fluke win over Brett, because I thought he looked strong, taking a beating from Vader. Vader's always good at like his power offense, and that was displayed here. He was kind of throwing around the Patriot, and Patriot's not a small guy, so that looked impressive. Vader looked motivated. Him with Paul Bear, I still at this point it feels a little weird, like that pairing together. But yeah, Patriot getting the win helps build momentum, and then I really enjoyed the post match because I think that's one of the things, like when you're starting to really kind of click on booking and like as a show in of itself, those kind of like heel versus heel or sudden dissension that you might have that you didn't anticipate. That's when you really know, like, oh, okay, like you're actually doing some interesting stuff here. Yep. And this was a very like interesting turn that kind of came out of nowhere, but sort of it made sense too. And Vader, I thought, played it well, where like he's on board till he sees the Canadian flag, then he flips out, and then that starts like a brawl between that. So I really liked how that came about. Overall, I thought this was very successful.
Yeah, we know Patriots aren't winning the world title, so they're going to need another contender. Yes. So in theory, as they work towards Survivor Series, you figure, okay, we'll get Patriot, then maybe Vader gets the one of the next month, and then you go to whatever Survivor Series. Doesn't quite go that way, but it felt like coming out of this, that was kind of their progression. Like we'll get Brett kind of big wins over these two guys. So Ross plugs the superstar line. We get an update on who's pulling the strings on Rick Rude, possible managerial shakeup, and updates on Austin, Ahmed Johnson, and Mark Henry. Haven't heard that name in a while. Plus news on why Shawn Michaels and Brockus were together. I'm guessing it wasn't at the Hart family dinner, Brockus. We run back clips of what we just saw at the Hart Foundation, Patriot and Vader. Here's that missing promo, Chad, you didn't get to see. Bret Hart's backstage with Michael Cole. Says this is the respect he gets in the United States. He gets spit on, stuff thrown at him, and he had the Patriot right where he wanted him until Vader got involved. At Ground Zero, Patriot has nothing in it like a Patriot missile, and anytime Vader wants to fight, I'll hit him with everything he's got because Vader ain't good enough. So the sooner the better. So that's it. Pretty brilliant for Bret.
Yeah, so this is weird. Like, I guess it's moot now with the network going away, but maybe for our international, but even on international network now with Netflix. But this I watched a network cut of this Raw, and it was only an hour and 25 minutes, so I knew it was very quick that they did like the second hour animation at 50 minutes into the video file. And this promo was completely missing for some reason. So I don't know what was going on, why this was scrubbed.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, we got our Stratix triple action. It's the clip from Goldust versus Owen Hart and Shotgun, where Pillman got involved and cost Goldust the match. So really, now Pillman's got 2 up on him. We get more classic footage from AC. Then Vince sends us to the Stone Cold story that covers SummerSlam injury. Vince then asked Ross what it was like interviewing Austin this morning and set up their big discussion from the Philadelphia hotel room. So there we go. Austin is sitting in the hotel room with Jim Ross. Ross thanks him for the opportunity, says he knows it's a crucial period as Austin's seeing a specialist for his neck tomorrow. Austin tells him to get to asking or he's going to toss him out the window. He starts shitting on the hotel room, says no one even called to check on him after his injury. He's the hottest wrestler in the world. And they have stuck him in a room like this with this shitty fruit platter. Austin throws the fruit at Ross, says he's tired of him, so ask the questions already. Ross says he's got 3 questions. He wants Austin's thoughts on the injury at SummerSlam. He wants to know what the doctors have told him about his neck. And he wants to know what he perceives his future to be. Austin says the bottom line is he is the SummerSlam or he's the IC champion. And at the end of the match, Owen dumped him on his head. Shit happens. For almost a minute, he couldn't move his arms or legs. And he was worried he may never move again. And that was scary. He's watched him on tape 30 or 40 times and it sucks every time. But he's over it. He's moving around and Owen has hell to pay. He's a lot pissed off, but it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. Austin says he's seen some doctors and one told him to do something else. But all he wants to do is wrestle. He's the best in the world, and tomorrow he'll see the best spine doctor in America. But what he says doesn't matter. It's the end result and decision will be his. He'll rethink things and go from there, and Owen has hell to pay. When you do what Owen did to him, he'll kick the shit out of him. Not sure when, how, or where. And as far as his future, he'll listen to the doctor, but do what he wants. And his future is to put on his boots and trunks and keep wrestling. He'll likely take a few days or weeks off, and he's been sitting home watching the injury, getting depressed, so he drank some cases of beer, rode around in his four-wheeler, and thinking about it, and he'll see what the doctor says. But the only way he sees the future is to continue to the top at ODF through all the bullshit and red tape. It's taken him 8 years to get here, and a pile driver could slow him down, but it will not stop him. He will be in Louisville at Ground Zero, and either he'll hand over the belt, but more likely he'll wrestle in the 4 tag team match. He keeps cutting himself off as he's talking. It's hard to articulate this, but telling Ross, like, stop smiling, wipe your nose, like whatever. He's like kind of shitting on him as he's going. He wraps up by saying he's more pissed off now than he was before, and that makes it even more dangerous. And if Ross has nothing else to say, he can get the hell out. Austin was pretty scattered here. I don't think it was his best work, especially for like something that was really, really hyped. It was good to do it. I like that he's not just like off. Like they know he's red hot. They got to keep him on the TV somehow. So this was, and he could talk, right? So they're lucky they get a guy who can talk to do this stuff. So he doesn't need to be wrestling. But it does show there's some question. There's some gray area, for fans as well. Like we've had Michaels fake injuries like twice this year, pretty much, right? Were those real? Were they not real? Is this real? Is this not real? Are they hiding how real it is? Is it not that bad? Like, you don't know because they have had some, even Brett's knee, like, was that really bad? Like, you don't really know a lot of the injuries in 97, what they've been like, because they've been kind of blended into the storylines the whole year. So this is another one where they're blending in the storyline. Again, I think Austin is like stuck in between wanting to get the information across, but wanting to be a badass. So he can't just say, I'll see what the doctors say. He's got to keep qualifying that by being like, I'll see what the doctors say, but I don't really care what they say. Like, so he can't kind of just go back and forth on what he's saying. And that kind of made it a little all over the place. So it's definitely scattered, but I think the idea and the concept to do it made sense.
Yeah, I don't think he was at the Hampton Inn by the airport, judging how this hotel room.
No, you don't think he was meeting Chris Jericho in the lobby?
No, but I like this interview segment. I think more than you. I thought this did a good job of presenting Austin as a baby face, but still with an edge. So he does have to kind of contradict himself, and with Ross, he's kind of annoyed and disrespectful to him, but I don't know. I think just the way Austin conveyed it really presented well to me, and better than it has on like these other backstage segments where Austin's almost seemed like a a felon or whatever with what he's doing. I mean, breaking into houses and doing like all this illegal, like just a dick or a felon or
it's a little bit like it's like a little bit like Punisher when like Punisher has to go hide and like regroup, right? Like that's just kind of his character is like the Punisher. Like, so it's this tough guy, this badass. He's not going to show that he's hurt, but he's also just realistic. He doesn't lie. So he's kind of like, yeah,
Right.
I may be done, but I'm not done. Like, the doctors may say I'm fucking done, but I'm not done. So
Yeah.
again, I think I like the concept of it. It's just it's just not smooth yet for him too much to like alternate between badass and realist. Like he's just kind of talks over himself the whole time. But again, you can tell why he's fucked up. Like he just went through this life altering injury. He's finally about to break through, and now he doesn't know. Is he done? Like it does suck. So you can understand why he's like kind of all over the place.
Sure.
All right, we get an ad for Ground Zero, and then it's time for our main event, and that is Undertaker and Mankind taking on Hunter S. Helmsley and Shawn Michaels. Hunter and China are in the ring, followed by Michaels to a mixed reaction. Mankind wobbles out. We get the gong. We get the cheers for Taker's chilly entrance. Michaels and Hunter dip to the steps to regroup. Taker gets in the ring. Mankind starts with some strikes and a clothesline, and Hunter cuts through Michaels, comes in to help him. The numbers finally overwhelmed. Mankind fires out of the corner, tags Undertaker, and knocks Hunter and Michaels to the floor. Hunter climbs back in, hammers away on Taker. Taker ducks a charge, dips Hunter over the top into Shawn. Shawn's able to hit a glancing sweet chin music on Taker from the apron, tags in and gets to work with some right hands. Taker fights him off and cleans both guys to the floor. Michael starts beckoning to his to the back, and out comes Rick Rude. We get a break. We get a SummerSlam VHS ad. Come back, Hunter and Shawn are working over Mankind. Mankind catches Hunter in the mandible claw as he comes off the top. Hunter breaks free. China is able to yank Mankind into the post. Shawn is in. It's a flying forearm, grabs a side headlock, tags Hunter. They take out Mankind with a high-low attack. Mankind knocks Hunter to the floor, but Shawn comes over and slugs him off the apron. Hunter shoots him into the steps. Back in the ring, Michaels continues to work over Mankind, taunting Undertaker as he does it. Mankind makes a beeline for Hunter, but Michaels nails him from behind. They keep doubling him up. Michaels takes over Mankind with a suplex. Mankind blocks sweet chin music, hooks a claw. Hunter makes the save, but Mankind ends up headbutting his groin. Taker gets the tag. Batters Hunter, gets 2 on a leg drop, knocks him to the floor. Taker grabs Michaels in a choke. Shawn goes to the eyes, but Taker knocks him off the apron into the railing. Fights off Hunter after he pins him with a chair. Taker slides outside, hoists up Shawn into a choke, but Rick Rude is back out and comes from behind with a chair. Taker drops Shawn. He stalks Rude into the ring. Hunter comes in as well. Taker chokeslams Hunter. Taker backs Rude into the corner, but Shawn comes in and just ladders Taker with a disgusting chair shot to the face. An all-time Raw moment. Taker gets up and is just pouring blood. It's like a curtain of blood coming down his face. He sits up and Shawn is kind of looks, hesitates, and then just crushes him again with the chair. And him and Hunter stand over him in shock. Taker sits up again, and this time Shawn and Hunter bail with Rude as bleeding Taker stalks them to end it. So this was messy in a good way. 2 new teams trying to mesh, blending different styles into a broader one, which led to a nice chaotic vibe. Michaels was kind of mixing in more of his cocky goofiness a little bit in this match, showing off in the ring as well, baiting Taker. The post-match show was all-time stuff. Like that chair shot was disgusting. And you can see Taker, but I don't know if you look at it. I've only seen it like a million times, so I know like he blades on the way down. And you can see he just like whoop, across his whole head as he's falling down. So that was gross. The Michaels heel turn is officially official. Like this is it. Zo going back now. And you can see this faction maybe coming together. Shawn, Hunter, Rude, China as they leave together. Taker angrier than ever. This puts a lot of heat on Ground Zero. It makes Michaels the number 1 heel. He's past Brett now after this. Like this is like next level shit. And I like where it goes. It's like Michaels had to make that devil's pact in this moment. Like, do I do this or do I not do this? And that second chair shot means he's all in, right? Like I'm all in on this fucking shit. Like I hit him with the chair at SummerSlam, fucked him out of the title. I brought in my insurance policy. I saved my buddy with 1 chair shot. That last one is like deliberate. Like this is it. So I went 3 stars in the match. We take a break. We come back. We just get a recap with Vince Raw. They must have had a couple of minutes to fill. Ross King and 1 more break to sneak in. So they recap. And Vince says at Ground Zero will be held to pay. So what are your thoughts on the match and the big angle?
Yeah, I like the match. I went 3 stars on the match. Had Taker bladed before?
I feel like he bled in the Mankind match.
That's what I was wondering, but I don't even remember like a lot of blood between the boiler. Maybe with the.
Well, he had the bloody arm. That wasn't really a blade, though.
Yeah. So that it just felt unique. It was a sick like blade job. Chair shots all time too, like completely nasty. But even before that, I like the way the tag was worked, where you could see like Shawn and Triple H developing more chemistry as the match goes along, doing more like double teams. Shawn, like you said, is bringing like his cocky heel work into stuff. Goofy on the outside with China doing like the stuff with her, which was entertaining to watch. And then on Taker's side, I've been pretty down on Taker. I think in '97, I like the way he worked here, where him and Mankind weren't all of a sudden buddy buddy either, but they're like doing their job, so they teamed admirably together. But it wasn't like you could see there seemed to be more cohesion between Shawn and Hunter than Mankind and Undertaker, and that made a difference as the match played out. So overall, I thought the work was well done and made for a really entertaining main event. And now it does feel like there's like this very interesting faction that's starting to develop, and Shawn versus Taker's a heated feud. And it being the second chair shot, Vince did good on commentary saying like that was most definitely intentional. Because like you said, like with the SummerSlam, there was still that bit of like ambiguity, and this there's no
It's like that they kept that hot in
back.
your mind too this whole way. Like they
Yes,
kept repeating it. Is that now yes, this one. There's no going back
yeah,
for sure.
no turning back. So well done.
Yeah, it's a super memorable angle, and you can see why. Like I always think to Brett in that limo wherever he was complaining on Wrestling with Shadows about how they turned him face to get away from Undertaker or Austin or whatever, or turn him heel. I mean, and now he turns heel, and now Shawn's a heel. He scooped all my heat. Like it's true. You look at it. We're only 3 weeks removed from the Hart Foundation being the dominant faction, and they already feel kind of washed out. Like Bowling and Owen trolling around for the tag title still. Pillman, Owens lost his IC title. Pillman, is tied up in a dress with Goldust. Anvil's nowhere to be seen. Brett's toiling around with Patriot. And then you got Shawn in this new stable, feels way hotter than the Hart Foundation one night in with these guys. So, like, you could tell why Brett was kind of aggravated. He was like, what the fuck? I just had he went to bed and woke up overnight. It's like, he was a top heel with the top faction. And now 3 weeks later, it's completely changed.
Yeah, I feel like Hunter being inserted as that number 2 is almost more damning than anything with Shawn, though, too, because it's like, I mean, Hunter now is being presented higher than like Owen at this current moment. So that's a big shift for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to our awards for match of the night. I had the main event.
Yes.
Moment obviously was that chair shot.
Yes.
MVP, I went Shawn.
Yeah, this is 3 in a row for Shawn for me.
Yeah,
so until further notice, he's on a pretty good run here.
No debuts, no shots fired. I went 7 out of 10. I like the hot angle. The Austin thing was big. Not a lot of in rings, some questionable booking weathered in there, but I think they did a good job. Like, if you didn't catch those Friday Raw, specials, I think they knew like ground zero. It's also, they haven't really mentioned it that it's the first 3 hour in your house, but that's the case.
Right.
But I don't think they need to sell any more than they've sold. Like you get Austin and Michaels and Taker's red hot. Brett Patriot's been pretty well built. Like Patriot's been built pretty well as a contender. And you got Pillman now. That's like on the books, that Pillman Goldust match. And you go to Austin, something with Austin. So like they did their job going into this 2 week dark period where they're not going to have Raw to really sell the show. Like, I think you probably know if you're buying it at this point. Like, I don't think you need more than what they've laid out. I think they really heated Taker and Michaels fast enough that it's like, you want to see that. You don't need more. Like, I think that the pay-per-view was Sunday, you'd be good.
Yeah, I went 7 out of 10 too. I thought this was a good show. This was not a like groundbreaking show, like the previous week with the Rude and the Rock turn, but in my opinion, like this had less huge negatives than last week's show too. Just it was more consistent. Didn't have the high highs, didn't have the low lows, but a very, to me, consistent 2 hours of television and up and down the card that felt like there was interesting stuff happening. So,
do you think it helped?
So I enjoyed this one.
Do you think it helped a little bit? Like, I know that sounds counterintuitive because he's been so good to have Austin not all over the show, like kind of limited, like other stuff got to breathe a little bit more, or Is that just kind of coincidental?
I think that's part of it. I just think I don't know, like with Russo booking, I feel like with this reign of Russo booking, for the next couple of years, we're just gonna have these kind of weeks of like
Everything
brilliance,
quick. Yeah.
and then weeks where it's like, oh, what was going on here? Because just his total style with everything,
Mhm.
and to me, this was just a week where like the negatives from the prior week were minimized here, and like
Yeah,
the
everything was crisp.
finish,
Goldust
yeah.
Pillman was
So
crisp.
yes,
The
yes.
main event was crisp.
Gang
Like
Wars was minimized,
Brett
so everything
Patriot,
worked
Vader
here.
was well done. Like,
Yeah,
they were definitely on.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Rock was Rocky was well
And
done.
no, and for me, no like Kane junk that was
Yeah.
on the back burner this week. So this was a very clean week for me with stuff that I've been annoyed with. So I just think you're gonna get, like as we mentioned, like obviously the floor has been well raised, so that's good. But to me, like this was an encouraging sign that this was not like a
Mm.
tent pole, like groundbreaking Raw with a title change or a big turn or anything, and it was
Right.
still a very entertaining show.
And we're past the U.S. Canada, which you always think of in this era of the big Raws. Like it's nothing to do with that either. It's all
Yeah, right, right.
different. So, all right, then good. Let's head over to Nitro.
So Nitro gives a cold open with Raven, and here's his thoughts. Anguish, fear, and sorrow are emotions we all feel, but never more strongly than our adolescence. And just having acne ravaged skin can lead to a lifetime of loneliness. One's acceptance by others is a barometer of one's popularity. If one is different, a misfit, maybe unattractive, unathletic, one is in for a lifetime of cruelty and suffering that will traumatize permanently. You see, the scars are souvenirs you never lose. The past is never far. You can try to repress it. You can try to hold it back. You can try to deny it, but it'll still continue to grow stronger and stronger, like a malignant cancer that can't be satiated. Each of us manifest our pain in different manners, whether it's 3 in the morning in bed, tears in one eye, whether it's a need to destroy everything beautiful, or just simply shutting oneself off from society. My father never gave me what I needed, so I understand what it's like to do without. They should understand this. They should give what's needed. I can see this. I can feel the pain. Why can't they understand? Quote the Raven, nevermore. So
Beautiful.
get all that?
Yeah, gonna be in a grave. It was good. It's good to see some movement finally. We kind of, again, which has been the WCW stuff, which is funny because you don't think of it as being this way, but they've really just like dragged a lot of stuff out. Like we had a lot of weeks of Raven and Richards, and it was good. It was good stuff, but it was a lot of weeks of them. So now we're finally kind of past that, and now it's like, okay, get a little bit more ECW Raven with the cryptic rambling and where we headed. So it was good to see like a difference in that approach.
Right. So then we get our regular opening. The Pyro sets us off. No Michael Buffer tonight in Birmingham. The Nitro Girls lead us
You think
in.
they left him behind in
And,
Sturgis?
Denver,
Yeah.
maybe Sturgis and Denver. So this is in Birmingham, Alabama. So just a little tidbit on this Nitro. This is the first Nitro I attended. I am third row, hard camera side, right at the where the entrance and the ring intersect. So this is the closest seats I've ever had.
That was Chad right
Um,
there in the front row
yeah, that was
watching.
me. You could see me, my brother, my dad on the show. So a little background. But these are the best seats I've ever had for like a major wrestling show. And so I was living in Alabama at this point, and the people that built our house, which I think I mentioned way back when, they were the ones that tipped me off that Hogan turned heel at Bash at the Beach. But they let my dad know that they were getting tickets for this show and said they were going to try to get good seats. And yeah, it turned out they were able to secure a third row.
There you
There
go.
I am. If you're watching the video in the lower right hand corner in the blue shirt, I did get the Ric Flair portrait shirt at this. In that picture, you can see to the left of me or to my right on the picture to the left is my dad and my little brother. It looks like he has my little brother in a chin lock in this particular screenshot. But there we were. Just great seats. It's something I really remember. So really memorable show as we go along. But yeah, so we're in Birmingham, Alabama. They cut right to somebody holding up a raw is plain old crap sign. And then Tony leads us right in saying, "Don't get worn down by the same old stuff."
Do you
But
think they
right
feel a
away,
little heat? Like why all of a sudden?
I think they're feeling a little heat. Yeah, I think this is seeing the momentum from Raw. Um, yeah, they were
They've been
seeing that.
quiet for a while. They've been quiet.
Yeah, very quiet, and I think there's a couple of different uh instances throughout this show that we can discuss that really emphasize that they were doing some counter programming.
Mm.
Tony also lets us know right away that the match is announced for tonight, which I think is good. So we're going to get the Giant versus Kurt Hennig and the Outsiders versus Lex Luger and Dallas Page. Two, I'd say, pretty big matches on the docket. So that's good to get those up out of the way and announced up front. And then they lead us right into our opening contest, which is a rematch from Road Wild. First of a couple of those on this evening's show, and it's Harlem Heat versus Vicious and Delicious. Tony setting the groundwork for War Games.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, I know we're kind of, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're in sort of this like mid period in between pay-per-views, but we really have nothing locked down for Fall Brawl yet. Just that War Games is coming. So
And we know, like, I think with War Games at this point, you don't need it to be any specific names because you just know it's going to be WCW versus NWO. So to me, it's like, I think they're relying on that where like most years they would have said the teams by now, but like the feud is already defined, you know?
yeah, I think it's kind of a match that sells itself. And they had this clash. So I think once they get through the clash, we should see some build to a Fall Brawl happen pretty immediately after that. Tony says that people are talking and they think Jacqueline will lead Harlem Heat to their 8th tag team championship. Larry makes a joke about her doing more damage outside of the kitchen instead of inside, which is not the norm for most women, according to Larry there. So there you go. Stevie overpowers Buff to start out. Larry also takes some shots at Bischoff here. Buff returns the favor and poses and, is strutting around. They talk about Larry, like whether he's going to get physical or not. Larry has a great line saying that, he's not going to get involved with Bischoff. He says, "I'm a 2 handicap and I intend on staying there." So
And he's right there. He's like, why are you putting the burden of leadership on me? Like, we got the Giant, we got Luger, you got Page, you got the board of commissioners, like JJ Dillon. Like, why the fuck is it up to me to like lead the way and be physical? Like, it's not my job.
So Stevie catches Buff, powers him down. Booker gets tagged in. We get a big shoulder block from Scott Norton. Booker and Norton, I think, match up well together. Harlem sidekick by Booker, but he gets tripped up by Bagwell. Vicious and Delicious take over, but a pretty brief face and peril segment here. Booker's able to tag out. They do a double drop kick and they slam Norton. Rewatching this show, this crowd I think is great. Like, live bias, but this is a great crowd. I think this is one of the better crowds we've seen in a little bit for WCW, and they had over 10,000 here. So this again, I'll just say, like, I think the way this crowd reacted probably deserved better than what they got from WCW in the future, because a Nitro does not come back to Birmingham until 2000. They do get like 5 Thunders. And I mean, the first Thunder, it is like the 7th Thunder overall, so it's still a pretty important show. But
Right.
a lot of those, like, they probably could have squeezed in, I think, like a Slamboree or some other pay-per-view here, to be honest. But yeah, so the finish of this match, all 4 come in. Vince is on the apron. He hits Booker to cause the DQ. And then Booker Cleats house of both Vincent and Vicious and Delicious. So, pretty abbreviated match here, but had good energy, good action. I went 2 stars overall.
Yeah, I think it was a good little Haas tag. Would have liked another few minutes to cook to a finish. But they had good energy. It's clear this kind of showcase Booker as a solo act too. Like I think that started to creep into a lot of these matches. He's getting a lot of the shine. It feels very much like the Hearts in '91, like whatever it was, right? Where you can tell a little bit they're trying to focus on one guy over the other. So 2.25 for me. That was a fine opener, and we've been a little bit of hot streak with the openers on Nitro lately. We're kind of away from the doldrum openers. We're not quite yet to the Lucha Funhouse openers, but like we're in a nice little like mid ground where it's not just like wasteland guys like Duggan and Wall Street and whoever. It's like we're actually using actual wrestlers and feuds in the opener.
Right. This is another little feud that I think we both enjoyed, and we get our next installment here where it's the Barbarian versus Mortis. So some chilling for the Clash matches. Hennig's involvement in the tag match with Flair at the Clash. Barbarian gets some kicks, tries a shoulder block, but hits the ring post. Mortis drives him down with the leg drop from the second rope. Crossbody by Mortis gets 2. We hear that J.J. Dillon is here tonight and has a message for Sting. Barbarian's on the attack, but Mortis leaps from the top, gets caught in a power slam and a nice power move, and then a big boot from Barbarian wins it. This again, too brief to be anything I think special, but really enjoyable while it lasted. Wrath attacks right away. Tony actually speculated that he thought Barbarian might have loaded his boot or something, but we nothing really came of that. So I don't know what the deal was with that. But we get a big brawl between all 4 of these guys as Ming runs out. He locks the tongue of death on Wrath. Mortis pounds away, but Ming refuses to break the grip, which was a cool visual. And again, overall, this is a tag team feud I'm enjoying. So 1.5 for the match here.
Yeah, I really like this feud. It's been a wild one. I just I really like Morris and Wrath, and I like that they're doing other stuff and not just fighting Glacier and Miller. This is way quicker than I remembered. I thought they were with Glacier and Miller for like months and months and months and months and months before they actually spilled out into other stuff. So I like that this is happening. I think it's a good use of both teams. It's 4 hosses throwing down. It's been a good time. Vandenberg's crew took 2 tough losses. Like I'm surprised. Like I know the Face of Fear have always been well protected, so it's not like a massive surprise, but again, I didn't remember Morris and Wrath taking losses like this early on either. Especially since Wrath, I think I talked about this previously, like the whole big angle that people get pissed about next year, like has to do with him kind of being on a streak. Right. So I guess I assumed he was unbeaten, but I guess not. A lower group, but give me more of this. And the crowd was into Ming at the end like that. They were fired up. So 2 stars in the match. Like I'm down. I'm ready for this like tag match for these guys at the pay-per-view.
So the announcers reset us. We get we get a Larry chant from the crowd here. Larry says trust between WCW is what has been lacking. Right at that moment, the NWO music comes. Bischoff comes out. This is kind of my second little point on the counter programming. We've seen a lot more Bischoff lately.
Mm-hmm.
So we were wondering like when he would get emphasized and kind of glammed up as a character, as he's sort of been like Hogan's sidekick for the most part.
He's almost becoming Hogan's surrogate now. Like
we're seeing
gone now for the show. Like so he's out now, like in place of Hogan with the Sting stuff going on.
Yeah, he's in a bona fide feud here with the Giant with what it's been going on. So Bischoff says he loves us too. He's going to tell us how much he loves us. He is going to invite each of us to his party Thursday on TBS at the Clash. So the NWO is basically having their birthday party at the Clash here. He says they are all his champions. Hollywood's got his belt back. The Outsiders are the tag team champions. Blah, blah, blah. We get a Larry chant from the crowd. Bischoff says it's going to be a party in honor of them, but he has some business. He hears everyone calling Larry's name, but Larry knows he even can count to 50 because he's seen him practicing and doing it on his fingers. But he has a restraining order against Larry, just like he does against the Giant. He thanks Denver's finest for taking that big goof to jail last week. And Bischoff says there's a 3 strikes you're out rule. And then he has a little message for J.J. Dillon. He says, we have been too patient. He wants his own show, and he wants his right to sit at that broadcast booth, and he isn't waiting much longer. So see you Thursday. So overall, A few things with this promo. I thought it was, well done. It wasn't too overly long, which was still good. The stuff about wanting his own show kind of came out of nowhere, but it is noted in the Observer, and this was something that he's basically teasing what became Thunder here. And in the Observer, they had a notion that it was supposed to start in November, according to Dave, a 2-hour show. So, of course, originally that was probably going to be an NWO show. Plans changed, but that is why he's teased it here, and it's kind of an interesting thing, and it's something we can talk about, like how their success almost ate them, from the inside within, because now Turner's executives who had not been interested at all and really looked down at wrestling now are, interested and liking the ratings and actually wanting more programming and whatnot. So they're kind of greenlighting another 2 hours of original programming, which would really expand. I mean, like WCW at this time still had Pro, still had Worldwide, had WCW Saturday Night, had Nitro, but then to get
and you can tell,
kind
like, if they launch on the show, Saturday Night's going to be the one that eats it, because
yeah,
right now that's still the B show. Like, stuff still
yes,
happens. They talk about it. Something's going to have to give. So, like,
yeah,
that's what's going to get relegated in this.
right,
I think the concept of doing an NWO show, like, makes sense if you do it like it's really its own separate organization, which is kind of what they wanted it to be, right? The whole story always here is that Bischoff viewed WCW as number one, NWO as number two, and WWF as number three, right? That's kind of how they internally looked at things. So
yes,
I think they were viewing NWO as eventually becoming its own promotion. It was like the brand split before the brand split, right? It wasn't just going to be like sold out where the NWO just kind of has showcase matches. Like, I think the idea was that they would have their own announcers, their own refs, their own wrestlers, and like they would have feuds within that. And I think they realized maybe that wasn't the best approach. And they do have a jammed roster, so they have guys that can like spill over to another show if they want to at this point, and they have the resources to sign even more. So I get why the approach was there.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about how they would have went about that. As we talked about, like the NWO in of itself at this point is still not oversaturated. I think a lot of
Right.
people think it was, but it's
No,
not.
not
Like
at all.
they're really only focusing on six, seven, or 6 to 10, I would say, main like characters at any one point. Because you have the Wolfpack, you have Hogan, Bischoff, Vicious and Delicious, Savage. That's kind of Vincent. Like, there's not a beyond that. Like, like the Chono and
Like,
Muda are back in
right.
Japan.
And you would
NWO
assume they'd
Sting,
do
we
it
never
almost like a
seen.
draft where they'd open it up and probably say like, all right, if you want to go with the NWO, here's your chance. And then just like probably
Yeah.
split the guys off. I would assume that's what it would have been. We don't really ever get much out of it. I do like the Thursday Clash better than the Tuesday Clash. I think having a couple extra days to like hype up is good too. Like Tuesday Clash is always like, all right, it's just the next day. It's kind of whatever, but
Right.
minor thing.
So
Cool.
WCW Saturday Night, we actually have matches announced for the first time I can think of, and
I actually want to go find the Saturday night.
I was about to say, I think I want to seek it out because we do get the big Faces of Fear versus Mortis and Raph showdown, and we get Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko. So that's two fairly loaded matches that could have been on the Clash, to be honest, that we're getting on WWE Saturday Night here. Mean Gene brings out Ric Flair. We learned that the Clash match is going to be Flair and Hennig versus Conan and Six. Flair says, Mean Gene, we're in the presence of Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig came out with Flair too. There's some boos for Hennig, though. He says, whether you like it or not, learn to love it, because Kurt Hennig may very well be the best thing going today, and he'll soon to be a horseman. So at least Flair is not outright assuming he has a horseman right away. But Kurt chimes in, says, at the Clash, he extended his hand and said he'll team with him, but that doesn't make him a horseman. He's had run-ins with the WCW and NWO, but he wants to know where's the competition. Gene asked him about the Giant. Kurt says, I'm glad he did, because he will show us why he's the best thing today. Tonight, he'll put the Giant 6 feet down under. Flair says that, now this I don't know. So Flair says he'll ride Conan hard tonight. So the luchadors apparently had travel issues. So I don't know if Conan was coming in with them and got delayed or what. So maybe it's an honest mistake. Maybe, or
Right.
maybe Flair did get Conan and confused. Who knows? I think with Flair, do you give the benefit of the doubt or was he just,
Or he
spouting
just
off
mixed
here?
up for yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
knowing WCW and where things go, it's entirely possible that was the match he was told, and then it got changed. Like it's
Yeah.
very, very possible.
Like there was
Yeah,
legit travel issues, it says in the Observer. So
I would say that's the most likely thing is that
okay,
he didn't
yeah.
get
It's just
clarified that he was no longer facing Conan.
yeah, it's just funny that he talks about Conan tonight. Then we get to the match an hour later, and Six just comes out. But Flair says Kurt rides high in the saddle. Hennig says he's sick and tired of telling the world how great he is. He's just too good to be true. So overall, I think of these two and a promo together, this is probably one of my favorites. I think just because Flair looked like less of a cuck, like towing down to Hennig
Right.
overall. So that was, I think, an improvement over what we've seen the past few weeks.
Yeah, I'm just ready for it again. And it's not even their fault. It's just that the Horseman shit has gone so long with similar stuff that it feels like an extension. It's not even fair to them, really. But it's like, honestly, since last May or June of '96, like started with the Benoit stuff, it's just constant Horseman news updates in these interviews. So it just feels like it's an extension that finally ended, and we go right into this. So I'm just kind of like, all right, just fucking do something and move along. Like, so it's the same song and dance. Like, it's just get some fucking movement going in this angle. And they're fine. Like, it's good together, but it's just like, all right, like we know the deal.
Right.
And it's like similar to the Sting thing too. It's like we have a lot of open decisions that like we just never get updates on. Raven and Richards is another one. It's like
Yeah.
every week we're like waiting on updates and no one's giving updates. And it's like this rinse repeat with like the top 3 or 4 storylines. Are we working
Right.
together? We're not working. Is Paige with the Giant? Is not with the Giant. So it's like all like the same idea and concept in all of these stories right now. It's like, what are we waiting for? Like I like the long-term booking. I do. But it feels like some of the stuff is too long term for all of it. It's like we have 5 stories, but we can't do any of them until Halloween Havoc. So now we got to kill 8 weeks. Well, just don't start the fucking story yet. You know what I mean? Like we can wait on some stuff. You didn't need to start all these stories. Do other stories in between.
Yeah, definitely with the Sting one, I think is the biggest grievance of all that. But
It would be like
yeah, they
Taker and
do.
Kane if they had 4 storylines like Taker and Kane, where they're not going to do them until October, and but they're not really. Right? They're doing other stuff in between. I wish we had more of that other stuff in between. Don't talk about it every fucking week.
Right. So Stevie Richards versus Scotty Riggs. This is Stevie's Nitro debut. He did wrestle on WCW Saturday night. Tony lets us know. We also do have Stevie versus Raven on Thursday at the Clash, so they're accelerating that. Tony says that what we heard from Raven at the top of the program was a rambling, so that was funny. Tanae Shields Clash tickets says there's some available at the Municipal Auditorium box office. Then we get the rundown of the next 3 Nitros next week. 825s in Columbia, South Carolina. They're in Pensacola, Florida on September 1st, and then they're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on September 8th. Riggs hits a pretty ugly monkey flip here. Now, they talk about Stevie, like every move of his is like the Stevie bomb, the Stevie kick, stuff like that. Supposedly, this was like a rib at Taz and some heat that Stevie and Taz legitimately had. Like, how like Taz had all these suplexes and
Yeah.
stuff. It was the Taz play.
Stevie's been calling it that for a while. You think
He
even
had
the
the
ECW, I
Stevie
mean?
kick, right? But yeah, apparently they did not like
He
the
called it
kick.
the Stevie Bomb too, and because when he was the big Stevie Cool doing the BWO, it was the Stevie Bomb.
Okay. Well, that was just something that both Torch and Dave put together. But
Maybe it went back to then. Maybe Stevie was mocking him even
I'm sure they probably didn't get along great in ECW itself. They feel like 2 personalities that could clash. So some drop kicks, Stevie Bells. It's been all Riggs so far. Riggs does get sent to the post on the outside. Stevie Bomb gets the 2 count. Riggs misses a drop kick, but he does come back and get a suplex. He takes Stevie's shirt off, taunts him with him, hits a side suplex for 2. Raven comes out from the crowd, gets in the ring. Stevie hits the big kick and wins, which we almost missed with the camera angle. So as a match, I thought this was fine. I want to start 3/4, but it's really after the match where Raven gets in the ring, gives Stevie the DDT, and actually gets a Raven chant from the crowd. So overall, I think this was a way to progress the Stevie and Raven stuff. We did get the little bonus of like Raven actually getting in the ring for the first time in WCW. So we have that, and I thought it was a fairly good segment actually.
Yeah, I'm glad to finally have some movement again on these guys. Like it was enough with the ring. The ringside stuff was funny, but I was like, okay, let's do more. So this escalates that quite a bit, and it shows some good Stevie spirit throughout the match. I thought Riggs is fine; he's good in this role. And the finish works. Stevie had to get the clean win to set up for Thursday, so it was good to have him get the victory. Yeah, I went 2 stars. I liked the match itself, and I'm glad that the angle is moving along.
Mean Gene brings out Jeff Jarrett, Deborah, and Eddie Guerrero. Deborah lets Gene know that Mongo is old news. Alex Wright comes out. He says he's ready to join her team, but she hasn't given her an answer. Deborah tells Alex Wright that he should be honored that that Alex tells Deborah that she should be honored that she had an opportunity to recruit him. Deborah says, I'll give you an answer here. Here's the big 3. He's good looking, he's from Germany, and he can dance. So that's all you need. Alex Wright dances, and Deborah goes easy now. But she says she'd rather be covered in money and in an anthill because Alex Wright currently does not have a title. Alex Wright says that is true. He's not a champion yet, but Thursday he will win a belt. Deborah says she knows that Eddie will be a champion. Jeff will retain his. And if Alex Wright can win the TV title, only then will she give him the time of day. So Deborah's building up a little faction here.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's forgotten to time that she had this little stable going on.
Yeah.
And it's a good approach. I think it's a good foreshadowing. Can Wright win the TV belt and, to whatever he wants to do. So I think it's a good approach for that. Gene says, it smells like you're eating sauerkraut. He loves his German jokes. I feel like it's somewhere along the line, some German guy pissed off Gene and, it's a Brockus joke. I don't know, but
right. When Alex Wright comes out, I think it's Larry that says "Where are the Nitro Girls," which was funny too for the past couple of weeks.
Actually, they're not on a lot so far tonight, huh?
No, I got the counter, but we've only had one so far. That I think overall this is probably the least appearances we've seen of them over an overall show. NWO happy birthday to us video, so we see them celebrating and partying it up.
You think it's interesting that they're celebrating their birthday? I guess they consider Road Wild 96 their birthday when they won the world title.
Yeah, I think it was just
Hogan's
something
birthday.
to hook for the Clash. I think it was an easy kind of. Okay,
I guess that's kind of when the full NWO really came around. Like they formed a Bash at the Beach, but Road Wild is kind of really where like they expand the group and Hogan wins the belt and all that stuff. So
right. So we get to our tag matches: Eddie Guerrero, Jeff Jarrett versus Benoit and Mongo Baby. Benoit pops Eddie. Eddie gets an eye poke and takes over. Really good sequence between these two results in a suplex and Eddie gooting and hugging Jarrett at the knees. He's really kind of clowning around. Mongo gets tagged in. He demands Jarrett, but Jarrett acts like he wants to come in. Eddie says, I got it. Lock up, and Jarrett sneaks in from behind. Mongo turns around, but Eddie takes out his knees. Jarrett comes in. They really attack the knees. The crowd chants Mongo. Mongo fires back with a comeback. He gets a flapjack and a 3-point stance, which clips Eddie. Eddie takes a great bump off of that. Benoit comes in. The crowd is rabid as he comes in and cleans house. Huge power slam for Eddie. Nice suplex, gets 2. Benoit looks to lock on the crossface, but Eddie breaks that up. Mongo is on the outside arguing with Deborah, and then she drops the U.S. Championship belt. Mongo picks it up, whacks Jarrett in the back of the head with it, and Benoit is able to pin him. So this was a 5-minute match. I thought this was great for the time it was allotted, actually. I went 3 1/4. I thought the energy here, the crowd was molten. It had like a perfect combination of a lot of big moves, a lot of kind of like stooging from Eddie and Jarrett. Fun finish, I thought, with Deborah's involvement. And overall, I found this really successful. So this was a big plus for me.
I was lower, but I liked it quite a bit. It was a fun, chaotic match. I like the finish. Mongo gets one over on Jarrett ahead of the win, or gets the win ahead of Thursday. So I thought that was well done. And yeah, I mean, look, when you get this mix of guys, we know Jarrett's been solid to good in WCW so far. He's hanging in these types of matches. Mongo has really come a long way. Like he is not being carried in these matches. Like he is carrying his own weight.
And over. Very
Yeah.
over.
I think it's a credit to them. Like I don't think he ever gets I think he's more too big of a butt of a joke. He was fine as an announcer, and he's been good in the ring.
Crazy how over he is
Yeah.
compared to how much he was criticized. He's almost honestly like Junkyard Dog of
Right.
the 90s, like the junk food dog. Like we know
Yeah.
how over JYD was, and again JYD up to like 87 was a competent enough worker, kind of in a similar vein to Mongo. Like it's just it's one of those like weird, like smart Mark takes that
100%.
somehow propelled throughout his career.
It was a toxic environment already seeping in on the internet at this time. Like if you weren't a guy like a Benoit Guerrero, or like if you were old, or like a slower Haas worker, like you were just out on the internet. Like that was it. And that those tastemakers on the internet were starting to come in, seep in left and right. You know, the cracks were starting to form and a lot of that stuff. And it continues over the next few years where a guy like him who's just a shitty wrestler. But he's done now. Listen, I think the wheels do come off a little bit for him, like in '98. Like his end game stuff is not great. Like I think he does regress quite a bit as he goes. I don't know if he just gets injured or what, but his late era stuff is rough. But for right now, he's super over. And I think it's ridiculous that he's not regarded as well as he should be when you look at his work in this era. So I think he's a guy too. If he would have came back around, like in WWF later or something, maybe he could have had that little nostalgia bump, but he just never resurfaced, and that was it. So we really only have like 2 years worth of his shit. Talk about guys who have short runs earlier. So
yeah, he's a pretty short run. I to me, even beyond like the work rate ability, like up to this point, it's like his heat is there. So that's where I think like they don't have much of a leg to stand on.
They should get credit for developing him. They don't really, but they should. Like they really, and he adapted himself too. But like they should get more credit for how they built him up and got him over. So I went 2.5 on the match just because it's short, but it was good performances.
Yeah. So the Nitro girls do come out. This is their second appearance. That ends hour number 1. We get the Nitro Party Shield. I thought this was funny. Like, I don't know what type of stuff they were getting, but Tony says, we don't want to hear your suggestions. We actually want to see the actual party. So I guess they were maybe getting letters on like, this is what you should do at a Nitro Party or what, but he clarifies that. They don't take a break. Pyro sets us off for hour number 2. Bobby sits down in the announce booth. We see the clip from Sting and Dylan's interaction last week, and the NWO music fires up once again. The announcers again reiterate that Hogan is who Sting wants to face. That's who they heard in the crowd. So the announcers,
thank God, that's what it is.
I'll say, like the announcers, like as dumb as they are with the Sting fake imposter stuff, the announcers themselves have been on board with this. He's asking for Hogan, like, cut it out. So the outsiders come out. I thought this was a funny sign. This is kind of a regional thing, but somebody has a sign that says the NWO shops at Winn-Dixie, which I thought was pretty funny. I don't know why.
By the way, speaking of regional stores, we're putting away Christmas stuff today. And, you wrap stuff at old newspapers. Like I had one that was a newspaper with the NFL standings from 2006. And then today I was packing something up in a Filene's bag. So there you go. I laughed. I meant to grab it so I could show it on there.
But hey, yo, once again, Big Kev, it's another sellout. There's people all across America glued to their TV sets watching TNT, and it's for only one reason. Am I right? Everybody here can't get enough of the NWO. Kevin Nash chimes in, says, well, it's one thing for sure. Birmingham, Alabama is NWO country. They are receiving kind of their usual mixture of cheers and boos here. Nash says a little bit later on tonight, WCW is going to send out a couple of jabrones, Luger and Page, and not only Birmingham, but the rest of the world will see up close and personal why we are the best that's ever been, and quite frankly, too sweet. So pretty short and sweet, I'd say, promo for them, but another solid job. Their charisma just is kind of oozing. So good job here, I thought.
Yeah, it was good. It was good for the arena to see him. I mean, it could have been a paid ad, or they could have done it later before their match. Like it definitely felt like they were just filling time and up and coming an hour or two. But like you said, if they're really focused on counter programming a bit, maybe they knew Raw was in like a lull and they all go kill a couple minutes while Raw's down, or maybe the opposite. They're like, oh, let's put the outsiders out there because we want to grab eyes. So it that's fine. It did feel a little out of place. Like it was kind of like, okay, that felt like a time eater.
Yeah.
For a show that's chronically running over.
Well, this is when Raw starting, right? So they have this, and
right.
then they counter program again the opening with the Rude promo with Six versus Flair. So they bring Flair out there too.
Right.
So again, this is where I think you can see like that counter programming a lot more NWO too. I think we talked about like when will the NWO become more prominent throughout the show. We've seen a lot of NWO in this show.
And they probably figure Paul and Nash they must have started before Raw started, I'm guessing. Thinking people may tune in because it's the outsiders. I'm guessing they started hour 2 before 9. It would be my guess. So they probably figured have Bobby out there, outsiders come out as we're turning the clock. Are you really going to turn the channel on the outsiders? Like, who knows what they may do,
So it is Six versus Flair, not Conan. So Olele, he's not here. Bobby says that Flair gets unraveled around the NWO. Flair gets the early advantage with some hip tosses and chops. Tony puts over the NWO's victory at Fall Brawl last year, says it was a landmark victory because it really started the transformation of Sting and what you're seeing, his kind of persona now.
They should focus more on that versus the stupid things that they win.
Yeah, the stipulations. So this was good. Yeah, this was good from Tony.
That's a bigger thing. That's really started the fucking thing, right? It's like the whole Sting scenario really, spiraled from there.
Yep, for sure. Six gets an insecurity to gain the advantage. Bronco Buster by Six. Today calls it the Bronco Ride. So we're almost there calling it what it actually becomes. Bobby says, of course, the more he watches Six, the more impressed he is with him. 6 pounds, Flair down, gets a near fall, Flair flip, and down to the floor. Six goes for the Bronco Ride again, misses just like it Road Wild. Double shoulder block, both are down. Flair come back, he goes after the leg, looks to lock in the figure 4. Then we get kind of a cheap run-in finish here where Vincent and Vicious and Delicious come out, but Hennig does come in. This I thought was a good moment where when Hennig comes in, they just immediately like clear out of the ring.
Yeah.
Like what happens eventually, like this was a good thing that like Hennig didn't have to like beat them up or whatever. They just scatter. So that was a good kind of attention to detail point there. But today, of course, is like, well, he certainly backed up Ric Flair there, and they're kind of seeing a lot of cohesion between Hennig and Flair at this moment. I went 2.5 for the match. It was an abbreviated kind of effort from their Road Wild, but still had good energy, I thought.
Yeah, it's a good grinder. I mean, they have good, fun chemistry together. A little slow at times, but Six got a lot of shine, a lot of time on top. Crowd was riding with them. I like the finish. So I went 2.5. Do you think they had any intent on potentially splitting Six off? Because it feels like they showcase him a lot. They let him go solo a lot. Heenan always is kind of talking him up. I mean, I know you're probably not going to break him off of Hall and Nash, but it feels a little bit at times like he's like well regarded, like even Flair kind of gives him the respect since the initial angle. He hangs with Flair. Like I don't know. It seems like they're trying to maybe give him a little bit.
I think at this moment, like at this particular moment, and them thinking they're going to have their own show, they know somebody like Six is gonna have to be a
big workhorse
on that show, because like you're not gonna have Hogan probably much at all wrestle once 4 or 5 months probably tops. Outsiders, I mean they wrestle a decent clip, but not weekly. I think they thought
they're going to need him to probably
Six and Vicious and Delicious could be those like weekly guys that are in and out, giving you kind of your showcase matches. So
that makes sense.
That's my thinking with that. Me Gene is with quite a duo here, JJ Dillon and Nick Patrick. Gene says that there's been a lot of water cooler discussion revolving around Nick Patrick the last week. He asked if a decision with the executive committee has been reached. JJ clarifies that, Nick Patrick was on probation, but he's not anymore. The executive committee has reviewed the tape and they made the decision that Nick Patrick did all he could have done. He made the right call and that the matter is now closed. So there we go. Nick Patrick says, with all due respect, spending a week reviewing his actions was a waste of time. But one referee has not done the right thing, and that is Randy Anderson. He calls Lex Luger the title. Randy Anderson comes out. He points a finger at Nick Patrick's face and says, "This is 2 weeks. You talk crap about me." JJ says, "Look, WCW has enough problems without them second guessing each other." And they continue to argue as this segment ends. A very weird, I think, like almost Memphis-esque, like feud between these two.
Yeah.
I thought JJ was accurate in saying, like, why are we bickering? Like, we got
Right. We have enough going on. We don't need
used to.
officials arguing, like calling each other out. Like, what are we doing?
So it's not like it kind of makes me smirk watching Randy Anderson and Nick Patrick jaw at each other, but I don't know. Wasn't needed and it feels very odd.
No, yeah, it's not needed. I think it's like I think it's good because it's letting you wonder, like, is Patrick still at the NWO, and is he just trying to throw misdirection, or has he really reformed and he's just calling out others? He's the head referee, and he's calling out what he sees to be poor officiating, right? So it could go either way,
right.
But they're leaving a little bit of a window to say, okay, is this guy just kind of trying to get the heat on Anderson or like cover for what he's got going on covert,
Right.
It's kind of a classic spy move, right? You want the other guy to be looked at as like the spy, right? Not you.
Right. So it's Ultimate Dragon versus La Parka. Good opening sequence of reversal moves as Tenay once again goes through his ticket report. We got the Thursday clash in Nashville, the same 3 Nitros he mentioned before. Then he shields 2 big house show dates with Indianapolis at September 6th, and then that big Chicago house show September 7th. He lets us know that the NWO has informed him that Hulk Hogan is wrestling in both of those shows. And the event in Indianapolis is the first WCW event in that town ever. So that's pretty cool that this is a big like Dick the Bruiser, town here. They're coming.
You think they would have been there at some point before?
Yeah, I think this really, again, as you mentioned, shows some of the expansion here. Bobby says he's going to invite Reggie Miller to come on down personally to that show. So I don't know if that came to fruition or not. Ultimo gets a drop kick. Parker goes outside. We get a crossbody by Ultimo. Parker's back in. Odo is able to give a flurry of kicks to Dragon. Tony brings up their former partnership with each other. Dragon gets sent into the steps. Powerbomb by Parker gets 2. Ultimo gets put in the tree of woe position, and Parker hits a spin kick into that. But he misses a charge. Dragon makes his comeback. Gets top rope Rana. Looks for the Dragon sleeper, but Odo's on the apron again, allowing La Parka to give Ultimo an enziguri. Ultimo gets sent into Odo, but is able to reverse it and sends Parka into an Odo kick, and then he locks on the Dragon Sleeper to win. And Ultimo drop kicks Sonny Odo off the apron for good measure here. So kind of another abbreviated match. This was less than 5 minutes, but again, I thought this had good energy for the time it was allotted. Overall a good kind of lucha match that I went 2.5 on. Enjoyable.
Agreed. It is a cool run of shows. The indie one's interesting. I don't know if Reggie Miller showed up. I feel like it would show clips of it. If so, not sure. It was a good little match. I thought it had some high spots and a quick pace. It was a little too short to really get revved up. Ono gets revenge. Dragon moves on to the clash. So I went 2.5 on this. Kind of been a pretty consistent night in the ring for me. Just kind of, whatever, a replacement level matches at 2.5.
Yeah. I think I like that tag match a lot, but one thing I've liked about this show is a lot of the matches had good energy. They've all had great heat, and I think that means a lot, even if they've been pretty express lane. So
yeah, with Nitro, if the crowd's biting on this stuff, like they're definitely biting on it, and it really enhances. Jenny also says "fuck Nick Patrick," by the way. So there you go.
That's a take I've never I'm a pretty big Nick Patrick guy, actually. I like him a lot, especially like I've been watching him, and this is like a deep cut. But in 1988, there was a big Georgia independent war between Nick Patrick and his dad, the assassin Jody Hamilton, and Joe Pedicino's group with Jerry Blackwell, Southern Championship Wrestling. So I've been watching some of that footage, but I've always enjoyed Patrick as a referee. Starcade, we'll get to the Starcade '97. I think that's the most debatable moment of his tenure. Probably the most important match, honestly, historically. So we can debate that as we get to. But I've liked him as a referee, and as a character.
The park out.
So now it's our kind of semi-main event here. As we mentioned, pretty big match here. It's the Giant versus Kurt Hennig. Hennig slaps the Giant. Giant throws him into the corner. Hennig comes back with some big chops. They were really reverberating around the BJCC there. He sends Giant into the turnbuckle. Giant gives Hennig a headbutt, which sends him flying. Hennig, I thought, was bumping really good off of Giant's offense. Tony says that Hennig may have been too confident and it's gotten the best of him here. Giant squishes Hennig in the corner. He suplexes Hennig, which I thought was an impressive looking spot. He pulls the strap down, calls for the choke slam, and at that moment, Bischoff runs down, stands halfway down between the aisleway and the ring. He yells at Giant to get back. He's got the restraining order in his hand, and Doug Dillinger comes in between them. Says, we've read that restraining order. Giant's currently not violating it because basically Bischoff's initiating the distance and the contact. Bischoff tells Dillinger he's not an attorney and kind of yells at him and pokes him. And then in a funny moment, I thought Dillinger says, if you hit me again, I'm going to charge you for assault, which I like that. But now Giant does walk toward Bischoff. Eric turns around. He sees Larry Zbyszko also coming down the aisle. So Giant gets counted out from the match. Eric tries to retreat into the crowd, but the Giant grabs him, drags him back in, and then he stalks him as we head to the break. It looks like the Giant's going to get arrested again because he did kind of initiate that 50-foot distance or whatever. So as a match, I actually liked this for what it was. I thought the Giant looked powerful. I thought it was a pretty good story with Hennig biting off more than he could chew. And I thought for like a BS finish, this give I thought this gave like a pretty decent out, because like you don't really want either of these two to job at this point. So Bischoff wrote it down. The interaction with him and Dillinger was amusing. As we talked about, Larry's getting very involved, and again the heat was good. So I went 2.25 here. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I went 2 stars. I was good. I when they first announced it, I'm like, wow, this match is already happening. And I realized it's not that match with that big spot. That's later. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought that was already happening. I'm like, wow, that they're already doing that. I from what I remembered, it was more toward when I think Giants headed out the door, right? Is when they do that.
Yeah. Down the way. Yep.
Yeah. All right. I thought the match was good. Not a lot of movement on the Hennig front, which was fine. Like, I'm glad it wasn't about Hennig and the Horsemen again. It was just kind of Hennig doing his own thing. I thought he was actually entertaining here, and it still presents Giant as dominant. So I thought they actually did a good job protecting both guys that kind of both need protecting right now. Because Giants, we talked about it last episode, I think, where he's a little bit lost in the woods. He's got this Bischoff feud going on, but he hasn't had a ton cooking since he handed over the title shot to Luger. So this is kind of a good way to keep him looking dominant, presenting him strong, and you need Hennig to stay dominant heading into War Games. So I just kind of got a lot done and kind of kept everyone looking strong.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. He kind of squashed Macho, but he's sort of not been in that long-term feud.
Right. He's kind of doing things
here. Yeah,
he's like the WCW enforcer, except for when you need him in the Luger matches. Then
he won't run out then.
He'll show up every other fucking time. Stagger Lee is in Colombia. Next week, Nitro is so big, it'll be at the Carolina Coliseum. I like it makes it sound like the fucking Los Angeles Coliseum. We're going to be at the Coliseum. It's so big. Tickets are still available. That's how big it is. Get them tomorrow. Tonight's party started with a cruise along Lake Murray on the Southern Patriot, and now over to the 5 Point area We have to go to the Riverbank Zoo to see a butterfly exhibit called Jewels of the Sky. But the Wheels of Dixie attraction failed because nobody cared. And Bobby doesn't care enough to even give a retort on this one.
Yeah. Mean Gene's in the ring with JJ Dillon. JJ said, he's been here for 2 weeks, and to his embarrassment, there's been no dialogue between him and Sting. He's actually ripped up each contract that he's presented Sting. JJ says there's already been too much distrust between WCW and Sting. He'd like to remind Sting that he's been one of Sting's strongest supporters. But with the way Sting's acted the last 2 weeks, he started to second guess himself. So he does let us know he doesn't have a new contract offer tonight, but his patience is starting to wear thin. It's time for Sting to start bridging that communication gap and tell us exactly what he wants. If he can't do that, then we may get boxed into a situation where we have to go our separate ways. Gene basically says, is this an ultimatum? And JJ says, well, I'm a positive guy, so I don't want to call it an ultimatum, but he's bought Sting some time. He has from now until Thursday at the Clash to come forward and tell us what he wants. So 3 days. Long time there, JJ. Sting shows up, big buzz in the crowd. Someone holds up a JJ. Sting wants Hogan side, so spelling it out. Gene, I'll just say I hated Gene in this segment. Gene is annoying as Sting's coming down where he's yelling, what in the world does this man want? So Sting gets into the ring. He grabs JJ by the tie. He then points to the signs in the crowd that say, Sting versus Hogan. The fans are chanting Hogan. Gene, while all this is happening, annoyingly says, don't give us the silent treatment. Give us an answer.
I mean, what more? Like, they look so stupid.
Well, it's Gene here.
Yeah.
This is Gene more than JJ.
But it's still JJ though. Like, why is he giving ultimatums and saying, if Sting doesn't tell us, we may have to go. See, he's fucking told you. What more do you need? Why do you need him to say it?
JJ had a couple of lines, but this I really think is on Gene because Tony even gets pissed at Gene. And so, right after Gene says, don't give us the silent treatment, give us an answer, Tony on commentary is like, just listen and look, for goodness sake. So Tony's giving Gene the business here. JJ does say he wants him to start talking by Thursday. So again, I thought that part was a little, but Sting grabs a side that says Holt versus Sting, presents that to JJ. So, I mean, as explicitly as he could say, here's what he wants. And I did at least as I've mentioned the last few weeks here, the crowd has been into this. I thought this crowd again was good in leading this along and actually going along with what they wanted, which was they're calling for Sting versus Hogan, dude. There was sides, multiple sides, there was chants. So everything was good here. I honestly, so far in the 3 weeks we've seen here, JJ's been better than I remembered. I don't know how much longer this gets drawn out, but I do remember JJ being more dumbfounded and being I don't know. At least here, I didn't think it was as obvious of him looking at the clouds. Again, I thought Gene was just atrocious, honestly. There's no reason for the crowd to be chanting Hogan at a deafening level, and Sting literally has JJ by the tie and pointing to sides, and Gene saying, "Don't give us the silent treatment."
I would have
That's
skipped
just bad.
Yeah, they should have skipped this whole thing this week. Only because we have the Clash in 3 days. So, I think they could have just skipped Sting. And I hate to take it away from the crowd because I know they're there to see Sting. I just would have had JJ in the aisle for 2 minutes quick, being like, hey, I think we all know what Sting wants. The board really wants to hear it from him directly. Show up Thursday and help me out and tell me. Boom, and in and out. Then you avoid Gene being an idiot. Oh, and maybe you just have Sting up in the rafters, kind of looking. If the crowd wants to see Sting. This is if we didn't have the Clash Thursday with the ultimatum, I would have said this was fine. But it's why do we need the Clash when he's fucking telling them here? So now the ultimatum on Thursday is in the trash because he did it here. He points to the crowd. He points to the sign. We see it. We don't need it again on Thursday.
Yeah, I think you could have added something very quickly. I know what you're asking for, Sting, by pointing and the crowd engagement, but I need to hear it like from your, or something like that. Like they could have said that. Again, though,
And just blame it on the board. The board is amorphous; it doesn't exist. So just say the board of commissioners is making me make you say it, and they won't let me proceed unless I fucking hear it. So can you just tell me so I can tell them it's a done deal? They don't. They want to hear it from you.
I still, to me, like Gene really sucked here. He's the one that I thought was like the biggest problem.
I just think you don't need it. If the deadline is Thursday, why is Sting telling him now? You're
well,
making Thursday useless.
Also, I think that's part of a programming thing too. They want to have everybody out except
well, just
for
do what I said then. Just have Sting in the rafters, and he's there, but he's not. He's already giving you the answer. Why do you need to know on Thursday now?
Well,
he gave it to you.
He didn't say it.
He points to this. He doesn't say
he
it
didn't
Thursday.
Say it.
And
at least JJ didn't say, "I'm confused. What you want?" Oh. So that I do think that's an improvement. Now, Gene still being dumbfounded sucks, but I think Gene's not in on the angle, so that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
6-pack shirt, $20 plus $5.95 shipping and handling.
In Birmingham, the local. Get them while they're there.
Yep. Another NWO segment inviting JJ to the party. This was, I thought, pretty funny here. So they do basically pin the tail of the donkey jackass, and they have a picture of JJ as the jackass. They're spinning everyone around, and then in a funny moment by Nash. Nash, I don't know if he was legitimately kind of liquored up here, but he was feeling himself. So when they spin a couple people around, go 1, 2, 3, and then they pin the tail on JJ. Then they spin around Conan, and Nash goes, "Uno, dos, tres." So that was
it's like
a
great Victor when I'm drinking.
Yeah. This was actually one of my favorite. We hadn't seen a lot of these like paid for by the NWO skits that haven't been straight like shields for merch in a while. So I enjoyed this one a lot. That was pretty quick. Time for our big main event here. It's Page and Luger versus the Outsiders. They're already past the 10 o'clock hour. So this, I think, is the last like moment of counter programming where this show goes real late. Like on the network, this is hour and 45-minute Nitro. So pretty close to what the 2-hour Nitro ended up being, or the 3-hour Nitro ended up being from a couple of weeks ago. So Tony lets us know we're already past the 10 o'clock hour. So this is some bonus Nitro here. Hall and Lex start away. Hall slaps Lex. Lex responds. Luger's in the corner. He fights his way out. Page gets the tag in now. Crowd's really hot for him. Nash knees him down and clubs him. Nash drops his head, gets hit with a spinning net breaker. He responds with a clothesline. A lot of crotch chops from Nash tonight. Nash goes for the snake eyes. Page slips out, hits a Russian leg sweep. Nash responds with a big boot, and then they work over Page with a really nice and long face and peril segment here. Good tags within. I thought Page did great, gaining sympathy from the crowd, working from underneath. The abdominal stretch is applied. Page is able to hit a pump handle backbreaker, but that's only a hope spot. Nash goes back and is able to hit the snake eyes here. Hall locks on the sleeper, but DDP fights out of it. We get another great hope spot where Nash actually steps in between Page and Luger when he goes for the tag. Nash gives another clothesline. Sidewalk slam gets reversed into a head scissors takeover, which was a crazy move for Page to kind of flip out of his bag. Great bump by Nash there. And then he makes the hot tag. And I gotta say, like the hot tag here is one of the biggest crowd reactions I can recall, like that we've seen. Like it was almost it was close, I think, actually, when Luger wins the belt from Hogan. Like the crowd erupts when Luger comes in. He gets 2 clothesline, and then really quickly the NWO comes in for the DQ. Macho, who we hadn't seen all night, he leads the charge here. Today on commentary, he's asking where WCW is. Bobby's yelling to say, "Get off your can and come out here." I've actually really liked commentary tonight. I feel like they've been on point in some of the grievances we've had. They've been correcting that. Even Bobby here, like giving a spirited plea for WCW, somebody to come out to defend WCW's honor. Giant and Flair come out to make the save. We get a big brawl to end the show. Giant and Nash face off for a moment. The crowd erupts with that. And then also Flair and Savage are paired off, which is always a cool visual to see.
Nice to see Giant decided to show up tonight.
Yeah, so Giant, for his part, he actually comes out. So I guess he wasn't arrested earlier. But I did like that at least WCW didn't look completely incompetent here. We get some some unity from them with Giant and Flair coming out. Finish was pretty cheap. I think this is becoming the norm here. We've had a lot of NWO running finishes on this show, so that's a little bit of a negative. But as a tag match, I really like this. I thought this was very Southern style. I thought the outsiders were motivated because they're legitimately good friends with Paige, so I think they were working hard here. I thought Paige was great as an underneath baby face, and the crowd was with them all the way. Like these four with this hot crowd was a great recipe. This is one that I think with a clean finish or something like that could really be like a unheralded great Nitro match. I think it was trended that way just with the way it was worked. It was getting a lot of time, but as it is, I went 3.25. But this was what I didn't remember, like this match itself and being there live watching this match, rewatching this. I expected a pretty good to good match. This really exceeded my expectations, I think, with the energy that they had working the match, the crowd, and just kind of the spots within it, like that head scissors takeover and stuff you just didn't see a lot from the four guys that were working the match. So really enjoyed this and the brawl to end the show.
And Tony does try and cover a little bit early on about, well, if JJ really has to hear it, will Sting finally speak? So he does try and add that extra, blip to the clash. Yeah, it was good. It was good to see Giant and Flair actually fucking help for once versus the last two title matches where they decided to no show, even though it was like, the biggest fucking story that they had going on. It was a classic tag. Like you said, a very strong heat segment, some good crowd engagement. Just four of the top dogs just kind of going to war out there. They all look good. The finish was well done too. Sets up the rematch for Thursday. Kind of the rematch, right? Savage instead of Nash. But so it feels a little bit like repetitive, but also kind of cool. And it was good to see WCW band up. So it was a good ending. I went 3 stars. I do wonder, I guess they wanted to have the tag titles on the line, but like it does feel like a very similar match. Like Nash and Savage is like, that's not a big enough switch to me to like sell the clash. I wonder if they should have done like a 6-man here instead. Done Hall, Nash, and Savage against like Luger, Giant, and Page, and then whittle it down to just a tag for. I wonder if that would have been a better way, because at least it would have been more different than what we get 3 days later. We're essentially getting the same match, but honestly, and again, like you're taking away from the clash in a way. I don't know. Was Savage a bigger draw than the tag belts? Because you're doing the tag titles tonight and Savage on Thursday. So what's the bigger draw in that? To have Savage in the match or the tag belts tonight? That's why I think a 6-man might have been better. And then you build to, all right, now we're going to see these 4 guys go to war. Hall and Savage teaming up is a big deal.
Yeah, a 6-man wouldn't hurt. I just think with the clash by this point, they weren't putting a whole lot of effort.
I guess they see this
and
being bigger.
The Sting ultimatum is probably what they think's the biggest hook.
Right,
with the NWO birthday party.
No, but they've been hyping Savage and Hall teaming like for weeks now. Like
they
have put a lot of pressure on that.
Hennig and Flair teaming too is something they've done.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. Like we've talked about it, Savage and Hall were teaming up a good bit here, so I don't know if that was something they were again teasing or what happened. Yeah.
Just maybe they felt like it was a big thing to have them teams they haven't really before, so maybe they saw it as like a draw,
Maybe.
All right, match of the night, main event for me.
Yeah, main event for me too.
For the moment, I went with Sting confronting JJ.
I agree.
MVP, I went with Page. I thought he was fantastic in that main event. Like he really was the glue. Red hot, super over, looked great. No one else really said like the Sting segment was great, but I didn't think like Sting was like an MVP in that segment in any way. And no one else really had like a huge night. Giant, was pretty good. but I liked Paige a lot in the match.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of like solid performers tonight, but I thought Paige's Face in Peril was very good. Yep.
Is that his first? Looking back,
he hasn't won it a lot either, which I think is something.
I don't know. I had him sold out. Was the last win for him.
Yeah, and he's somebody who's been very good throughout '97, and it's good to give him a nod.
Yeah. Shots fired. We talked about it to start the show. Tony saying don't get worn down by the same old stuff, the raw, same old crap signs. So heating that up. We had the road report was Columbia, no debuts. Kind of a rare night with no debuts on either show. Usually we at least have one or the other.
Yep.
So nothing there. This felt similar to Raw, but I thought Raw was a touch better. So I went 6.5. But it's Nitro. The in-ring was better than Raw, but I felt like less happened. And I don't know if it's because of the double up with the Clash, but it felt like it was, it was a fun Nitro, but it was one you could have skipped because a lot of the stuff that happened was kind of rinse repeat from previous weeks, like Giant and Bischoff, Flair and Hennig, Sting and JJ. So stuff happened, but it wasn't like no new ground was broken on this episode. So
yeah, I went 7.5. I think this is a really good episode. I think the in-ring's good. I didn't think again, kind of what I echoed with Raw. To me, like the segments and stuff I've had the biggest problem with, like the Hennig stuff and even the JJ Sting stuff, I thought was corrected to a degree here. So I didn't have many major problems with this show. I thought it was just missing, like, again, kind of that big, like, overarching event to put it into, like, the great level, but it did have a great crowd, and the action I thought was really good. This is one of the best in-ring Nitros I think we've had in a while, where there was multiple matches that would have been hidden gems, so that was good.
All right, so let's get to our combo awards then. So best show, is it a tie with the grades? Because you were what, 7?
Yeah, it'll be a tie. I would lean Nitro, but that's
no, because you were 7. Would you give Raw 7?
7
and 7, so I was 14.5. I went 7 and 6.5. So Nitro wins the numbers.
Okay.
By 1. All right, so Nitro, you want to go with that main event on Nitro as the best match over the
Raw
one?
I think so. I think both tags were good, but I think the Nitro main event was a little bit better.
But the chair shot was definitely the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commentary with Nitro. Shawn, though, for star of the night?
I would go Paige, actually. I think Shawn
really over the chair shot moment?
I mean, I think moment's good for Shawn.
Yeah, but Shawn, you don't think that?
I think Paige. Just because it's a nice nod to him, and Shawn, like the last 2 weeks have been, I think, more building for character, and he was good, but I think of the 3 weeks we've seen with Shawn, this is the worst of the 3. So
he's only won one of the 3 because we gave it to Luger on the 4th. So
yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Luger there, but I think giving it to Paige is.
All right. I don't care now.
I mean, the chair shot's nice, but
forgettable match.
One chair shot, yeah.
All right, Nitro ratings winner. So they're going up 74 to 21 now, all time.
Yeah, the ratings were good though. So Nitro is up to a 4, which again is the best besides the August 4th that they've had when they're running, like head to head at least for 1 hour versus Raw. But this is an improvement for Raw. Raw got a 3.2, which is the highest rating Raw had gotten on, when they're not like July 21st. They have the night to themselves. Yeah. Running head to head, this is the highest rating, I believe. Is it the highest rating they've gotten, period, since we started the show? Yeah, I mean, since like I can't remember, like the May 13th, 1996. That may have been one of those NBA playoffs.
Probably.
So in a while. Like we're at least in a year and a half or so. This is the highest rating and possibly.
And it's not like a pay-per-view follow. I mean, so I think the buzz off the Shawn stuff must have been pretty hot.
Yeah. Yep. So
Shawn's turn. So that's good. I mean,
you're seeing more, as we mentioned last show, you're just seeing more wrestling fans overall.
Yeah, crop up.
That's good. Yep.
Right. And our final award, the Chad That Match Sucked award. If you can see the graphic on the screen on the YouTube here, what's your worst match of the night?
don't really have a big contender tonight. I think just based on rating, I'd have to give it to Jesse James versus Pillman, but the finish was good there. So
Yeah.
this is a pretty clean night for that.
All right. All right. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We will be here with the Clash. So that's always a fun quick hit show. It's a good Clash, actually. Rewatching, I was like, it was actually, I thought, one of the better Clashes in a while. I think they go out with a bang. It's the last Clash ever. But they go out with a pretty big one. So if you're into dinner and a movie, definitely check out that episode. A lot of that going on with Paul Gilmartin. And then in a month, we'll be with kind of the split Nitro Friday night's main events. We'll be hitting a couple of those as we head to a ground zero. So a lot of fun. Again, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. For sure, check out everything over at North South Connection. Subscribe on our YouTube. And we misspoke earlier. We're actually almost at 1,200, Chad, not 1,100 subs. So check that out. We'll give a shout out to Reg, Wright Everett, Grooney, Jenny, Jeremy Nichols, all popped in tonight to watch us as we record. All patrons. Got the link over at the free Patreon, so sure to subscribe. Until then, smell the napalm. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Old JT and Mr. Brightside. Talk to you later.